The builders de start.
Eh bien, nous bienvenue pour l'autre session qui consiste aujourd'hui. Ça c'est deuxième session qui consiste pour l'année 2026 avec Mani ici et puis moi Claudia est capable de nous gagner une journée qui long.
Hello, our dear viewers. Hello to head office of the GIS NTN. I'm Claudia Monlui. A pleasure to join you. And we now hand over to this arrival of the speaker.
Let us pray.
In the name of God, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, Almighty God, by whom alone King reigns and Prince decree justice, and from whom alone cometh all counsel, wisdom, and understanding, we thine unworthy servants here gathered together in thy name, do most humbly beseech thee to send down thy heavenly wisdom from above, to direct and guide us in all our consultations. And grant that we, having thy fear always before our eyes, and laying aside all private interest, prejudice, and partial affections, and the result of all our counsel may be to the glory of thy blessed name, the maintenance of true religion and justice, the safety, honor, and happiness of the King, the public will, peace, and tranquility of St. Lucia, and the unity and knitting together of hearts of all persons and estates within the same, in true Christian love and charity, one towards another, through Jesus Christ our Lord. Amen. The grace of our Lord Jesus Christ, and the love of God, and the fellowship of the Holy Ghost be with us all forevermore. Amen.
Announcements. I have been advised that the members for Labrie, Soufrière, Francais-Jacques, and Miku South are unable to be with us today. I also wish to place on record the Parliament's International Women's Day appreciation. And I trust that everyone had a wonderful independence. And speaking of which, I was honored to have been chosen to deliver the Independence Day message to St. Lucians residing in Washington, D.C., Maryland, Virginia, and surrounding areas. The church service, which was held at St. John's Church in Maryland, was well attended by St. Lucians. It was also fitting that the officiating deacon was Haitian and fully understood both our theme and whatever Creole was spoken on the day. A copy of my message is with members. Last week, the Parliament was graced with the presence of Mr. Jack Hadcastle and Ms. Chantal LaRoche, representing the Commonwealth Parliamentary Association, who were here to oversee our benchmarking activities. To this end, they met not only with parliamentarians of both houses, but also with civil society groups. A report of the visit will be sent to us for presentation to the Parliament. Both Mr. Hadcastle and Ms. LaRoche have asked me to convey to the Prime Minister their thanks and appreciation for having taken time off his busy schedule to meet with them. And as part of the Parliament's digitization project, we met with the Pop Vox Foundation, a lead organization on such initiatives. Currently, many of our Parliament's documents are largely in paper form, which makes for far more tedious access and also places important and historical documents at risk of loss or destruction. So that we may effectively execute the project, we requested from the Department of the Public Service 2 additional staff who will be placed on 3-month contracts. Statements from ministers. Deputy Prime Minister.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, before I proceed, allow me to be the first member of this honorable chamber to congratulate you on your esteemed elevation on the hierarchy of academic achievements, and to say to you that we are well pleased with the title that has now been bestowed upon you. I'm not sure how to refer to you. Is it Honorable Dr. Professor Claudius Francis? But I'm sure you will correct me and guide me as the appropriate title that I shall.
Honorable Professor?
Yeah, Honorable Professor, Dr. Professor, Mr. Speaker. And to congratulate him, Mr. Speaker. But Mr. Speaker, today, as the Minister of Responsibility for the Citizenship by Investment Program, I wish to address this Honorable House on the recent actions of the United Kingdom to require St. Lucian nationals to obtain a visitor's visa to enter the United Kingdom. St. Lucia has had a long relationship with the United Kingdom, shared by a complicated colonial history, by constitutional ties, and institutional connections. It has been our long-standing expectation that our dealings with each other would be guided by trust, reliability, and fairness. After all, we are constitutional realms sharing the same monarch. So King Charles III, King of the United Kingdom and Northern Ireland, is the King of St. Lucia. But Mr. Speaker, one wonders what King Charles III would think that his loyal subjects here in St. Lucia can no longer visit the UK to see where he lives at Buckingham Palace, as his loyal subjects in the UK have now required visas for us to visit. Especially when we are told that since 2022, 332 out of 106,000 asylum seekers, or 0.003%, are from St. Lucia. And may I tease you, Mr. Speaker, and ask, what would your reaction be if King Charles III requests to sit at the next opening of Parliament and deliver the throne speech, as he is, after all, the actual head of state? Surely we will have to welcome him like we do to thousands of other Britons who visit our shores each year. But that's another chapter in our history to be told in the months and years to come. Mr. Speaker, I want to make it clear from the outset that I fully respect the sovereign right of the government of the United Kingdom to protect its borders and to determine its own visa policy. These are matters for the UK government. Immigration is a serious issue, and every country has a right to act in defense of its laws and its borders, and we must respect that. Further, I support fully the close working relationship which existed in ensuring that our Citizenship by Investment Program poses no threat to the national security of our international partners. But, Mr. Speaker, respect for that sovereign right does not mean silence when the manner in which a decision is taken causes real concern, real disappointment, and real damage to the spirit in which our relationship has been managed. And that is the issue before us today. I've had on many occasions to stand before this honorable House in the public interest to account for and clarify matters relating to the CIP. The action taken by the United Kingdom government has been widely and wrongly interpreted as a judgment on St. Lucia's Citizenship by Investment program. The wording used by the UK Home Office in its statement speaks of the number of St. Lucians who have applied for asylum or are working illegally in the United Kingdom. It does not differentiate between who were natural-born citizens or CIP citizens. The explanatory note outlines the significant growth in our CIP. It ends by saying that the spike in claims for asylum coincides with that increase. Mr. Speaker, I can understand why some would believe that the two are linked, that it is the CIP that is causing the increase in asylum seekers and illegal workers. Some would genuinely establish that causal link, and others would, out of political malice, accentuate the words of the Home Office to serve their political purpose. Mr. Speaker, I say to this honorable House that it is wrong to leave the impression that St. Lucia's CIP is responsible for this problem, when to date, the data needed to establish that claim has not been shared with us. On the contrary, we have been assured that the CIP is not the driver of the decision taken by the United Kingdom. Mr. Speaker, ever since discussions began with our international partners, St. Lucia has been consistent. We have asked repeatedly for the relevant information on any concern with the CIP. We have said, if there are CIP citizens using St. Lucian passports to claim asylum or to work illegally in the United Kingdom, then share the data with us. Tell us how many. Tell us where they are originally from. Tell us who they are. Give us the information necessary to act. That has been our position throughout. Mr. Speaker, because no responsible government can fix a problem that is not properly placed before it. No responsible government can be expected to respond with precision while not having access to the information required to do so. We have been told repeatedly that such data cannot be shared. And so the obvious question remains, how is it any government expected to respond effectively to any abuse if the evidence is not available to address it? And again, I want to make the point. There's no evidence to suggest that our CIP is responsible for any increase in persons seeking asylum or working illegally in the United Kingdom. There is no such evidence, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, it has happened before that having identified a potential area of concern, we have acted. When we became aware that action taken elsewhere in the region against certain applicants may have been linked to part of that problem, we moved immediately and barred applications from these nationals. That is what responsible government looks like. It does not grandstand on social media or talk shows. It does not gossip. It does not speculate. It acts. It is therefore especially bewildering that this visa action has been taken at a time and been used by the opposition when we are in fact involved in active engagement on various aspects of the CIP. And meetings have been planned with our international partners to discuss what more can be done to halt any abuse of the visa-free system. So, Mr. Speaker, while others may prefer noise, this government has preferred cooperation. While others prefer headlines, we have preferred solutions. Whilst others are content to spread suspicion, we've been trying to address facts. Mr. Speaker, we will not be daunted. We will continue to work with all international partners to strengthen our program and ensure that it is not a threat to anyone and remains a benefit to us. But let me state that with a visa regime in place, the decision to allow any St. Lucian passport holder into the United Kingdom rests solely with the authorities in the United Kingdom. I must say, Mr. Speaker, I would have thought that if the CIP citizens were the problem, then the visa requirement would have been implemented only for persons who acquired citizenship through the CIP. But that's not a decision for us to make. Mr. Speaker, let me turn directly to the Citizenship by Investment program, because there are those in this country who seem determined to weaken public confidence in one of the very instruments helping us to build a stronger St. Lucia. Let us be honest. CIP is not some political gimmick. It is not a vanity project. It is not and has never been an end in itself. It is a developmental tool. It is one of the means by which a small island developing state like ours can fund roads, hospitals, schools, water security, jobs, climate resilience, and a wider national development in an era when traditional sources of development finance are shrinking and global pressures are growing. No country is providing the grants we need. No country is providing the concessionary loans that we need. No country is building the infrastructure that we need in this country of ours. The roads, the bridges, the water supply, the fields, the community centers, the grants for small businesses, for youth projects, for creative industries, for housing. No one is providing that to us. That is the truth of it. And that is why the attempts to recklessly discredit CIP are so dangerous. When you attack this program irresponsibly, you are not attacking a line item on paper. You are attacking a source of opportunity for the people of St. Lucia. You are attacking a means of financing growth in this country. You are attacking a tool that has helped us build a richer, stronger, prouder, and more resilient country. And that brings me, Mr. Speaker, to my greatest disappointment of all, the conduct of the opposition. At a time when St. Lucia required seriousness, patriotism, and maturity, the party opposite has once again chosen sabotage. They have learned nothing, absolutely nothing. They were rejected by the people, and instead of reflecting, instead of reforming, instead of deciding to behave like a loyal opposition worthy of a serious democracy, they have doubled down on the same old politics of mischief, spite, and national damage. They continue to put party before country. They continue to applaud when St. Lucia faces difficulty. They continue to treat global challenges for our people as an opening for political advantage. They continue to show that for them, if they cannot control progress in this country, they would rather destroy it. And that is why we said during the campaign that the member for Miku South would burn St. Lucia to the ground just to be the king of the ashes. Mr. Speaker, events have confirmed this. He's not interested in building. He's not interested in solving. He's not interested in protecting St. Lucia's reputation abroad. He's interested in wrecking, smearing, undermining, and then pretending that the smoke is statesmanship. On a day like today, Mr. Speaker, after all that has been said for the last few days, we expected the member to be present, to debate in this House all the things that they have been posting and stating, Mr. Speaker. But, Mr. Speaker, that practice tells us all that is left of the United Workers' Party. But the country sees through them, Mr. Speaker. It sees through him and his party. The country sees through the games. The country sees through the misinformation. The country sees through the fear-mongering. The country sees the plastic patriotism of people who would rather see St. Lucia harm than accept that St. Lucia is moving forward without them. Let us speak plainly, Mr. Speaker. The UWP has been determined to undermine the CIP ever since it lost office. It has tried to convince St. Lucians that this program is the cause of the visa imposition, even though visa restrictions have affected countries without CIP programs. And even though concerns around St. Lucia asylum claims predated 2021 and went back to a period when the UWP administration itself was in office. So what are we dealing with here? Not principle, not patriotism, not constructive criticism. We are dealing with hypocrisy. We are dealing with a party that once promoted CIP as progress, but now seeks to destroy it because it cannot bear to see it succeed under the Labour Party. We are dealing with a political opposition so desperate, so bitter, and so hostile to the idea of St. Lucia prospering under this government that it is willing to join in narratives that weaken the country internationally and damage confidence in our future. That is not opposition in the national interest. That is sabotage. That is recklessness. That is political desperation masquerading as principle. And St. Lucians know it. They knew it in 2021, and they knew it again in December 2025. And Mr. Speaker, they know it now, Mr. Speaker. The verdict of the people has been clear again and again. They do not want that kind of politics. They do not want that kind of leadership. They do not want a politics that tears down the country just because another party is delivering progress. They do not want people who call St. Lucians the most unkind names to now wrap themselves in patriotism whenever it suits them. On this side of the House, Mr. Speaker, we serve. We govern with humility. We govern with discipline. We govern with a love for country and a commitment to the people of St. Lucia. We are not in office to perform outrage. We are in office to deliver results. And since 2021, St. Lucia has been moving forward. The country is stronger than what we inherited. The economy continues to improve. Confidence is growing. Progress is visible. Our people can see it. And that is why the party opposite will become even more frantic in its attempts to derail it. They know what the people want, and they know what the people know. That St. Lucia is succeeding, and it is succeeding without them. So let there be no confusion, Mr. Speaker. This government will continue to defend St. Lucia's interests nationally and internationally. We will continue to engage international partners seriously and responsibly. We will continue to strengthen and improve the Citizenship by Investment program. We will continue to insist on fairness, facts, and proper cooperation. We will continue to use every legitimate tool available to build roads, expand healthcare, improve water infrastructure, create jobs, raise incomes, and widen opportunity for the people of this country. That is our duty. That is our focus. That is the difference between this side and the other side. We are building St. Lucia. They are trying to break it. We are defending St. Lucia. They are undermining it. We are governing for the future. But they are trapped in bitterness about the past and hurting by the repeated defeats that they had to face, Mr. Speaker. So when we say that the last UWP administration must remain the last one, we do not say it as a slogan. We say it as a warning born of experience. St. Lucia can never afford to hand its future to those who present sabotage for leadership and spite for patriotism. Mr. Speaker, our people deserve better than that. They deserve a government that protects progress, not an opposition that preys upon difficulty. They deserve leaders who fight for solutions, not headlines. They deserve a politics that lifts the country up, not one that drags it down in malice and ambition. That is what Labour government offers. That is what this Labour government will continue to do. That is why, despite the challenges before us, St. Lucia will move forward, stronger, wiser, and more determined than ever. Thank you very much.
Papers to be laid Prime Minister and Minister for Finance, Constituency Development, people empowerment, justice, and national security.
Mr. Speaker, I beg to lead the following papers standing in my name. Cited instrument number 8 of 2024, Legal Profession Eligibility, Gabriel and Gelino Order. Cited instrument number 10 of 2024, Excise Tax Amendment Schedule 1, number 3 Order.
Prime Minister, 2024, you're reading the correct?
Oh, that was the book you gave me.
Oh no, that was just for the last borrowing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Your microphone, please. Still off. Still off. Try it again, no? No, put it on again. Jesus.
Mr. Speaker, I beg to lead the following papers standing in my name. Starting instrument number 13 of 2026, value-added tax resolution of the House of Assembly to approve the draft value-added tax alteration of rate of interest order. Starting instrument number 14 of 2026, value-added tax resolution of Parliament to approve the draft value-added tax alteration of rate of penalty order. Starting instrument number 16 of 2026, excise tax amendment of Schedule 1, number 3 order. Starting instrument number 18 of 2026, firearms fees amendment regulations. Starting instrument number 19 of 2026, value-added tax alteration of rate of interest order. Starting instrument number 20 of 2026, value-added tax alteration of rate of penalty order.
Deputy Prime Minister and Minister for Tourism, Commerce, Investment, Creative Industries, Culture and Heritage.
Mr. Speaker, I beg to lay the following papers standing in my name. Statutory instrument number 15 of 2026, Price Control Amendment number 3 Order. Statutory instrument number 17 of 2026, Tourism Development, PYF Management, Peter and Yasmin Felicia Management Limited Order. Statutory instrument number 21 of 2026, Tourism Development, Amelia Boat Tours Order. Statutory instrument number 22 of 2026, Tourism Development, ATV Experience Order. Statutory instrument number 23 of 2026, Tourism Development, Just Dip Limited Order. Statutory instrument number 24 of 2026, Tourism Development, Valley Villas Order. Statutory instrument number 25, Tourism Development, Oceanica Limited Order. Statutory instrument number 26 of 2026, Tourism Development, Tomtis Villas Limited Order.
Motions, Minister for Finance.
Mr. Speaker, whereas it is provided under Section 63(1) of the Public Finance Management Act. Just before I continue, Mr. Speaker, I beg leave of this Honourable House to move that motions 1, 2, and 3, which relate to water projects, be consolidated and presented together for the consideration of the House.
Honourable members, the question is that motions 1, 2, and 3, which are all water related, be consolidated to allow the Minister of Finance to present them as one. I now put the question. As many as that opinion say aye.
Aye.
As many as the contrary opinion say no. I think the ayes have it. The ayes have it. Leave is granted.
Thank you very much, Honourable Speaker. Whereas it is provided under Section 63(1) of the Public Finance Management Act, Cap 15.0 on the Act, that the Minister of Finance may, by an affirmative resolution of Parliament, borrow from a bank or other financial institution for the capital or current expenditure of government. And whereas it is further provided under Section 64 of the Act that money borrowed by the government must be paid into and form part of the consolidated fund. And whereas the Minister of Finance considers it necessary to borrow an amount of $22,829,181 United States dollars from the Caribbean Development Bank, the bank, to finance the John Compton Dam Raw Water Pipeline Replacement Project, the 9th water project. And whereas the amounts of the loan are from the ordinary capital resources totaling $15,690,407 United States dollars, comprising of United States dollars 10,690,407 from the bank's equity and market resources, and 2, US dollars 5 million from the agency funds the development. The special fund reserve totaling $7,138,774 United States dollars. 1, 5 million United States dollars from the Special Development Fund. 2, $2,138,774 from the Italian line of credit. And whereas the loan is repayable in the case of the ordinary capital resources and the Italian line of credit in 17 years, in the case of the Special Development Fund in 30 years. And whereas the repayment must be in the following tranches: in the case of the ordinary capital resources and the agency funds the development, in 68 approximately equal and consecutive quarterly installments on each due date, commencing on the first due date after the expiry of 5 years following the date of the loan agreement, or on such later date as the bank specifies in writing. B, in the case of the Special Development Fund, in 120 approximately equal and consecutive quarterly installments on each due date, commencing on the first due date after the expiry of the 5 years following the date of the loan agreement, or on such later date as the bank specifies in writing. And C, in the case of the Special Fund resources, in 68 approximately equal and consecutive quarterly installments on each due date, commencing on the first due date after the expiry of 9 years following the date of the loan agreement, or on such latter date as the bank specifies in writing. And whereas, as a commitment fee is payable on the ordinary capital resources portion at a rate of 1% per annum and is payable quarterly up to the date of the loan agreement. And whereas, interest is payable quarterly at a variable rate of 5.6% per annum on the amount of the ordinary capital resources portion, the fixed rate of 0.75% per annum on the Special Development Fund tranche, and C, the fixed rate of 1.4% per annum on the Italian line of credit tranche. Be it resolved that Parliament authorizes the Minister of Finance to borrow an amount of $22,829,181 United States dollars, the loan from the Caribbean Development Bank, the bank, to finance the John Compton Dam Raw Water Pipeline Replacement Project, the 9th water project. Be it further resolved, the amount of the loan is from 1, the ordinary capital resources totaling $15,690,407 United States dollars. A, US dollars 10,690,407 from the bank's equity and market resources, and B, US 5 million from the agency funds the development. 2, the special fund reserve totaling $7,138,774 United States dollars. A, US dollars 5 million from the Special Development Fund, and B, US dollars 12,138,774 dollars from the line of credits. The loan is repayable in the case of the ordinary resources and the Italian line of credit in 17 years. In the case of the Special Development Fund in 30 years. The repayment must be in the following tranches. 1, in the case of the ordinary capital resources and the agency funds the development, in 68 equal or approximately equal and consecutive quarterly installments on each due date, commencing on the first due date after the expiry of 5 years following the date of this loan, or on such latter due date as the bank specifies in writing. 2. In the case of the Special Development Fund, in 120 equal, approximately equal, and consecutive quarterly installments on each due date, commencing on the first due date after the expiry of 5 years following the date of this loan agreement, or on such later date as the bank specifies in writing. 3. In the case of the Special Fund resources, in 68 equal, approximately equal, and consecutive quarterly installments on each due date, commencing on the first due date after the expiry of 9 years following the date of this loan agreement, or on such latter date due as the bank specifies in writing. And D. A commitment fee is payable on the ordinary capital resources portion at a rate of 1% per annum and is payable quarterly from the 16th day of the date of the loan agreement. E. Interest is payable quarterly at the variable rate of 5% per annum on the amount of ordinary capital resources portion. 2. The fixed rate of 0.75% per annum on the Special Development Fund tranche. And 3. The fixed rate of 1.4% per annum on the Italian line of credit. The Speaker, this is the first statutory instrument, the first resolution. The second resolution. Whereas it's provided under Section 63(1) of the Finance Management Act, Cap 15(0.1) the Act, that the Minister of Finance may, by an affirmative resolution of Parliament, borrow from a bank or other financial institution for the capital or current expenditure of government. And whereas it is further provided under Section 64 of the Act that money borrowed by the government must be paid into and form part of the consolidated fund. And whereas the Minister of Finance considers it necessary to borrow an amount of US dollars $4,233,750, the loan from the CARICOM Development Fund to finance the rehabilitation and upgrade of the Thebes water supply system. And whereas the loan is repayable in 10 years, commencing from the end of the 2-year grace period. And whereas the loan is repayable in 40 equal, approximately equal quarterly installments on the 30th day of March, the 30th day of June, the 30th day of September, and the 30th day of December. And whereas interest is payable at a fixed rate of 3% per annum. Be it resolved that Parliament authorizes the Minister of Finance to borrow an amount of US dollars $4,233,750, the loan from the CARICOM Development Fund to finance the rehabilitation and upgrade of the Thebes water plant. Be it further resolved that the loan is repayable in 10 years, commencing from the end of the 2-year grace period. B. The loan is repayable in 40 equal, approximately equal quarterly installments on the 30th day of March, the 30th day of June, the 30th day of September, and the 30th day of December. Interest is payable at a fixed rate of 3% per annum. Resolution number 3. Whereas it is provided by Section 63(2) of the Public Finance Management Act, Cap 15(0.1) the Act, that the Minister of Finance, by an affirmative resolution of Parliament, borrow from a bank or other financial institution for the capital or current expenditure of government. And whereas it is further provided by Section 64 of the Act that money borrowed by the government must be paid into and form part of the consolidated fund. And whereas by virtue of the Public Finance Management Act of Parliament, to borrow for expenditure to finance the Patience Community Water Supply Project, published at the Statute Instrument number 151 of 2023, Parliament authorized the Minister of Finance to borrow an amount of $1,203,224, the original loan, to finance the Patience Community Water Supply Project, the project. And whereas the Minister of Finance considers it necessary to amend the loan agreement to borrow from the CARICOM Development Fund an additional sum of $781,493, the additional loan, to provide financing for the additional cost of the project. To state that the original and additional loan are repayable in 10 years, commencing from the first due date. To state that the original and additional loan are repayable in 40 equal, approximately equal, and consecutive quarter installments. To state that the loan payments commence the 30th day of March, the 40th day of June, the 40th day of September, and the 40th day of December each year after a grace period of 2 years, following the date of the first disbursement on such later date as the fund specifies in writing. And 3, to state that the interest rate is payable at a rate of 3% per annum on the amount of the original loan and additional loan disbursed and outstanding. Be it resolved that Parliament authorizes the Minister of Finance to amend the loan agreement to borrow from the Caribbean Development Fund, the fund, an additional amount not exceeding US dollars $781,493 for the purpose of providing financing to meet the additional costs of the Passengers Community Water Supply Project. Be it further resolved that the original loan and additional loan are repayable in 10 years commencing from the first due date. The original loan and additional loan are repayable in 40 equal, approximately equal, and consecutive quarterly installments. C. The loan repayments commence on the 30th day of March, the 40th day of June, the 40th day of September, and the 40th day of December each year after a grace period of 2 years following the date of the first disbursement or each later date as the fund specifies in writing. The interest is payable at a rate of 3% per annum on the amount of original loan and an additional loan disbursed and outstanding. Mr. Speaker, these resolutions, Mr. Speaker, all have to do with water. And it's very unfortunate, Mr. Speaker, that the opposition is not present to explain to the people why they would oppose bills that deal with water. Mr. Speaker, let us deal with the first one, the first resolution, Mr. Speaker, for the US $22 million. Mr. Speaker, the US $22 million from the Caribbean Development Bank, Mr. Speaker, is a loan that will deal with the critical replacement of approximately 5 kilometers of raw water pipeline that serves the John Compton Dam. 5 kilometers of pipe from the John Compton Dam. But Mr. Speaker, before we deal with the 5 kilometers of pipe, we have to deal with the John Compton Dam, Mr. Speaker. And Mr. Speaker, we need to ask the government that administered this country from 2016 to July 2021, what happened to the $60 million that was supposed to have been spent on the John Compton Dam? This is the first question. That's the first question. What happened to the $60 million that was spent? After the consumer that they promised to remove the fee, the consumer in the South that they said they would remove the fee for, 10.43% of the bill that consumers pay was used for the desilting of the John Compton Dam. And Mr. Speaker, our members will tell you that an audit showed that less than 10% of that dam was desilted. Less than 10%. After expenditure of nearly $60 million. After expenditure of nearly $60 million, less than 10% of that dam was desilted, Mr. Speaker. These are questions you have to ask when you hear about the grandstanding about borrowing, Mr. Speaker. First question. Second question. What happened to the machine that was supposed to be a dryer that was purchased for more than $500,000 that up to this day is at Union, cannot be used, Mr. Speaker? Second question. So, Mr. Speaker, we are starting with a question that has to be answered by the opposition. Where is that $61 million that was supposed to be spent on the road, on the John Compton Dam, and less than 10% of the dam was silted, Mr. Speaker? Question number one. Question number two, Mr. Speaker. We are, and Mr. Speaker, it's a long history that about water in St. Lucia, where we were, what steps that were taken, what steps were sabotaged, where was the misinformation that's happening now about what should happen to Wasco, who started the Wasco, converting Wasco into a viable organization, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, do you know that at some point the government of the Labour Party had absorbed most of Wasco's debt? Mr. Speaker, most of Wasco's debt was absorbed by the government of St. Lucia, Mr. Speaker. And up to this day, up to last month, Mr. Speaker, the government of St. Lucia, by direct subsidy, was giving Wasco $1.2 million monthly, Mr. Speaker, as a direct subsidy to help in the running of Wasco, Mr. Speaker. And do you know, Mr. Speaker, that the government of St. Lucia has advanced Wasco money for not only their water bills, but expected water bills. Government has paid Wasco in full, Mr. Speaker. But do you know, Mr. Speaker, that in 2021, the government of the United Workers' Party did not even pay the bills for the Darren Sammy Stadium, the water bills for the Darren Sammy Stadium, Mr. Speaker. And do you know, Mr. Speaker, that the government of the United Workers' Party did not even pay the bills for government buildings? They should disconnect them. Because they didn't pay the bills. They didn't used to pay water bills for government buildings. But you know, they grandstand about borrowing, Mr. Speaker. So that's one they'll show, and I'm sure my colleagues will be able to expound on it better, Mr. Speaker. So, Mr. Speaker, what are we doing? We are replacing the outdated pipeline with a 32-inch pipe. We are replacing, Mr. Speaker, and the pipeline replacement associated system upgrades will ensure reliability of the water supply. It will improve efficiency and it will stop leakage, non-revenue water caused by leakage, Mr. Speaker. So, Mr. Speaker, I will allow my colleagues and the new Minister of Public Utilities to deal more in depth with that first set of borrowing, which is for the pipeline from the from the John Compton Dam, Mr. Speaker, 5 kilometers of pipeline that will help the water supply in the north of the country, Mr. Speaker. That's water. That is for the pipeline that is going to be replaced, Mr. Speaker. The next resolution, Mr. Speaker, the other resolution, Mr. Speaker, but whilst I go to the resolution, I want you to remember to ask the opposition to explain the desilting of the Rosa Dam. Very important that you ask them that, Mr. Speaker, and I know you have a way of asking these questions. But Mr. Speaker, just an aside, you know the last time we came to this Parliament to borrow, according to your records, was on March 19, 2024? Are you aware? According to your records, because you know they like to say I see, your records, Mr. Speaker, the last time we came to Parliament to borrow was on March 19, 2024. Tell me the government. Tell me which government that has run a country for 2 years that hasn't come to borrow. And Mr. Speaker, and some people want to say that Madi Pwete has returned. Mr. Speaker, you know what was doing Madi Pwete? We came here every Tuesday and we borrow. Borrow for lockup B. Borrow for, what's the one name? What's the name? Dr. what? In Beaufort. gem of the Caribbean. Borrow for Tioa King. Borrow. Let's figure, you know, we say that one day 1 o'clock borrowing. And that's the first time that we borrowed in 2 years. The first time we borrow. And the speaker, what has happened in that time? What has happened in that time? What has happened in that time? We just this morning we went to see the House of Justice. I mean, the speaker, I want to tell you, you'll be in a new Parliament building very soon to help with your new elevation, new Parliament building. Mr. Speaker, the other resolution, Mr. Speaker, is for us to borrow $4 million, Mr. Speaker, for the Feebles water supply system. Mr. Speaker, again, necessary. The Feebles water supply is in a deplorable state, Mr. Speaker. It will serve, when it's repaired, it will serve 40,000 customers. 40,000 new customers are going to be served properly, Mr. Speaker. It will cause energy efficiency. It will also address my favorite topic, and you saw rain fell this morning, rainwater harvesting. It will help, it will assist that system, Mr. Speaker. And I want, Mr. Speaker, some of my colleagues must take some money and buy water tanks. Huh? Because they have to lead by example, Mr. Speaker. What my colleagues must deal with rainwater harvesting, Mr. Speaker. But, Mr. Speaker, do you know that Cabinet has passed a conclusion that all government buildings must investigate how they can cause water harvesting to be in these buildings, Mr. Speaker? This is a Cabinet conclusion, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, and whilst I'm speaking about water harvesting, in my last discussions with the Caribbean Investment Bank, we're going to get part grant, part loan to help to create water harvesting systems in community centers, in schools, Mr. Speaker, if we can create water harvesting systems, because there are a lot of studies on water harvesting, Mr. Speaker, but that's for another show. The other loan, Mr. Speaker, is for the addition, and a member of Miku North is not here this morning. Both he and a member of Miku South are not here, but the member for Miku North is in the island, and he'll be here shortly. But, Mr. Speaker, an additional loan of $700,000 for additional loan for the past year's water supply. And, Mr. Speaker, you know, anything that happens in Miku, in the Miku constituencies, is when the Labour Party is in government. And the pastures water supply, pastures suffered from water issues long before 2021. Long before 2021. But you know, the rumor or the belief that you could send anybody in Miku and they would vote for UWP, that rumor has been thrashed by the member for Miku North. And very soon, Mr. Speaker, it's going to be thrashed for the constituents of Miku South. Very soon, very soon. The idea, you can send anybody in Miku and they'll win, Mr. Speaker. That happened again. The people of Miku understand good government and they understand who gives them proper representation. Because the people of Miku South are not being represented in the House this morning. After the government has taken such a substantial step to improve the water supply of this country, the people of Miku South are not being represented in this House. So, Mr. Speaker, the $781,000 is for the past year's water supply, and I'm sure, Mr. Speaker, the member for Miku North and the Minister of Public Utilities will expand further on these resolutions, Mr. Speaker. So, Mr. Speaker, I want to tell you that water is very important to us. Water is very important to the government, Mr. Speaker. And I want to report on some immediate steps that are going to be taken by WASCO, working with the Solution Hotel and Tourism Association, working with the private sector to improve the situation, Mr. Speaker. Because water, the scarcity of water, from a number of factors. Apart from the fact that they wasted $60 million on the Roseau, on the John Compton Dam. That's part of the reason the $60 million that they wasted on the John Compton Dam, Mr. Speaker. Water is very important, caused by climate change, caused by sometimes drought, sometimes flooding, etc. Water is very important. And the way a meeting was held in the private sector, and they decided, Mr. Speaker, that some immediate steps will be taken to relieve the water situation, albeit temporary in the country, Mr. Speaker. Number one, Mr. Speaker, which is going to happen immediately, the pipeline between Bonte and Capesit is going to be replaced at a cost of $5 million. $5 to $7 million is going to be replaced. So that will help the supply in the north, the grocery. That's why the member for grocery will be very happy to hear that, and also the supply to the hotels, etc. in the north, Mr. Speaker. That's the first stage. Second, Mr. Speaker, we are going to be importing what the International Tourism Association, working with the government and working with Vasco, are going to be importing water from Dominica using a barge, Mr. Speaker. And that's also important because the hotels and people in the north have to truck water from the south of the country to take it down to grocery and the north. So that's going to be easier, and because of the foresight of the government in allowing Alia to build their jetty, the barge can come in there and the water can be disbursed from there, which is closer than the north of the community. So, Mr. Speaker, we are working incrementally. And finally, Mr. Speaker, the WASCO has, I'm told that WASCO has finally prepared the strategic plan. Their strategic plan, Mr. Speaker, to present to the cabinet. I'm very happy that they have finally done that, Mr. Speaker. And that strategic plan will speak to the future of WASCO. And I'm told, Mr. Speaker, that WASCO, but why is we doing that? The government has set up a committee of public and private sector people to deal with WASCO in a holistic manner. To deal with WASCO so that we can finally complete what we started when we were last in government, and which was stalled by the United Workers' Party. To have a complete picture and a solution to the WASCO problems. We formed a committee to deal with that. The World Bank is helping us, the Caribbean Development Bank is helping us, and the local private sector, so we can have a resolution to the situation at WASCO, the water situation in this country, Mr. Speaker. But in the meantime, we have to continue to be very prudent in our use of water. We have to continue to we have the resource coming from the sky, let's harvest it. We have to continue to take steps that will stop the pollution of our rivers and our water courses by the throwing garbage, etc. in our rivers and water courses, Mr. Speaker, which will eventually get into in our beaches, etc. And we have a first bill today, which is going to do that, which the Minister of Housing will lay on the table. So, Mr. Speaker, I'm very pleased that we have seen a glimmer of hope in solving the water problems in St. Lucia, Mr. Speaker. And I hope that the time will come when somebody will account for the $60 million that was spent on the John Compton Dam. I want someone to account, Mr. Speaker. I was excited to hear the member from Miku South, because I thought he would have been here this morning to tell us why his party is opposing the borrowing this morning. I thought I would have heard him, Mr. Speaker, because really that is the essence of our democracy, that you speak your truth and allow other people to decide whether they believe you or not, Mr. Speaker. But unfortunately, he's not here. So what we will get is Facebook postings, talk shows, innuendos, half-truths, some of it totally untrue, imagination, gossip, roro, instead of dealing with the facts, Mr. Speaker. So, Mr. Speaker, I ask members to support these three resolutions. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honourable members, the question is that Parliament authorizes the Minister for Finance to borrow an amount of $22,829,181 United States dollars, the loan, from the Caribbean Development Bank, the bank, to finance the John Compton Dam Raw Water Pipeline Replacement Project, the 9th Water Project. Be it further resolved that A, the amount of the loan is from 1, the ordinary capital resources totaling $15,690,407 United States dollars, comprising of A, United States dollars 10,690,407 from the bank's equity and market resources, and B, United States dollars 5 million from the Agency Française de Développement. 2, the special fund reserve totaling $7,138,774 United States dollars, comprising of A, United States dollars 5 million from the Special Development Fund, and B, United States $2,138,744 from the Italian line of credit. B, the loan is repayable 1, in the case of the ordinary capital resources and the Italian line of credit in 17 years, and 2, in the case of the Special Development Fund in 30 years. C, the repayment must be in the following tranches. 1, in the case of the ordinary capital resources and the Agence Française de Développement, in 68 equal or approximately equal and consecutive quarterly installments on each due date, commencing on the first due date after the expiry of 5 years following the date of this loan agreement, or on such later due date as the bank specifies in writing. 2, in the case of the Special Development Fund, in 120 equal or approximately equal and consecutive quarterly installments on each due date, commencing on the first due date after the expiry of 5 years following the date of this loan agreement, or on such later due date as the bank specifies in writing. 3, in the case of the Special Fund resources, in 68 equal or approximately equal and consecutive quarterly installments on each due date, commencing on the first due date after the expiry of 9 years following the date of this loan, or on such later due date as the bank specifies in writing. And D, a commitment fee is payable on the ordinary capital resources portion at a rate of 1% per annum and is payable quarterly from the 60th day after the date of the loan agreement. E, interest is payable quarterly at 1, a variable rate of 5.6% per annum on the amount of the ordinary capital resource portion. 2, the fixed rate of 0.75% per annum on the Special Development Fund tranche. And 3, the fixed rate of 1.4% per annum on the Italian line of credit. Regarding motion 2, the question is that the Parliament authorizes the Minister for Finance to borrow an amount of US dollars $4,233,750, the loan from the CARICOM Development Fund, to finance the rehabilitation and upgrade of the Seabull's water supply system. And be it further resolved that the loan is repayable in 10 years, commencing from the end of the 2 years grace period. And B, the loan is repayable in 40 equal or approximately equal quarterly installments on the 30th day of March, the 30th day of June, the 30th day of September, and the 30th day of December. And interest is payable at a fixed rate of 3% per annum. And motion number 3, the question is that the Parliament authorizes the Minister for Finance to amend the loan agreement to borrow from the CARICOM Development Fund, the fund, an additional amount not exceeding US dollars $781,493 for the purpose of providing financing to meet the additional cost of the Pasias Community Water Supply Project. Be it further resolved that the original loan and additional loan are repayable in 10 years, commencing from the first due date. And B, the original loan and additional loan are repayable in 40 equal or approximately equal and consecutive quarterly installments. And C, the loan payments commence on the 30th day of March, the 30th day of June, the 30th day of September, and the 30th day of December of each year, after a grace period of 2 years following the date of the final disbursement or such later date as the fund specifies in writing. And D, the interest is payable at a rate of 3% per annum on the amount of the original loan and additional loan disbursed and outstanding. The member for Susan Saltibus. And just for the record, since we have consolidated the 3 motions, you would have your hour for each motion.
2 hours.
Because something is available, you use it, you know.
Mr. Speaker, I rise to lend my full and unwavering support to the Honorable Prime Minister and Minister for Finance on this historic resolution before this Honorable House. But Mr. Speaker, before I delve into the substance of this resolution, I must first give thanks to the Almighty God for the breath of life and for the privilege to serve in this capacity. I must also place on the official record my profound gratitude to the good people of Choiseul Saltibus. It is their trust that placed me in this honorable house, and it is their voice I carry with me today. Mr. Speaker, before I get into the substance of the bill, I crave your indulgence for just a brief moment. On the heels of International Women's Day, which was observed globally this past Sunday, I want to take a brief moment in this honorable house to recognize the women who have shaped my life and my journey. I honor my late grandmother, Vera, my mother, my auntie Rose, and my beautiful wife. I also want to pay the highest tribute to all the wonderful, formidable women of my constituency, Choiseul Saltibus. Mr. Speaker, the women are the true foundation of our communities. They are the heartbeat of our families, the steady hands that sustain our local economies, the real economies of our society, and the very soul of our nation. I thank you, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity to place this on the record. And it's exactly for those women, Mr. Speaker, the mothers who need to wash their children's clothes, the grandmothers who need to clean or who need clean water to cook, the female entrepreneurs running businesses who cannot survive without reliable utilities. Now I turn to the business of the day. Today, we are debating the authorization to borrow a sum of $22.8 million from the CDB to finance the John Compton Dam raw water pipeline replacement project known as the 9th Water Project. Mr. Speaker, before we dive into the numbers, before we discuss interest rates, tranches, or the mechanisms of the loan, we must ground this debate in an undeniable truth. It is a truth that every St. Lucian, from the lush hills of Millet or Saltibus to the bustling streets of Castries or Rodney Bay, understand at the very core, l'eau c'est la vie. Water is life. Every mother in this country knows that truth. Water is not merely a commodity. It is not just another line item in a national budget. It's a fundamental human right. It is the lifeblood of our health, of our agriculture, our tourism, and our very survival. Mr. Speaker, this is precisely why this administration refuses to treat WASCO as a mere business. We view it as an essential public service fulfilling a profound public duty. Under the leadership of our Prime Minister, Philip Joseph Pierre, this Labour Party government operates with a people-centered approach. When we craft policy, when we seek financing, we do so with an absolute focus on the people of St. Lucia. We understand the daily frustrations of our citizens when the taps run dry. We hear the cries of mothers who cannot wash their children's clothes, and the pleas of business owners forced to shut their doors because of water shortages. And so, let me state categorically to the people of St. Lucia today, we will solve the WASCO problem. Oui, Mr. Speaker. Nous avons un problème WASCO sala once and for all. But Mr. Speaker, let us be honest. With the people who elected us, honesty is key. So let us be honest. It will not be done overnight. The decay we inherited was profound. Reversing it will take time, determination, and significant investment. But make no mistake, the work has started. And this resolution is the key to unlocking a future of water security. Speaking of the past, Mr. Speaker, it forces us to reflect on why we are in the situation today, this situation today. When we reflect on the fragile state of our water infrastructure, we must look at the blatant mismanagement of those who once managed it. Mr. Speaker, like Prime Minister alluded to, would you believe that between the years of 2016 and 2021, these years are critical? The previous governing administration had no less than 3 different ministers in charge of WASCO and water. No less than 3, maybe 4. 3 ministers during the 5 to 6 years. How can any complex, fragile utility survive, let alone thrive, under such chaotic and unstable leadership? The answer is it cannot. They treated the portfolio like a game of musical chairs. And while they played politics, St. Lucian suffered from crumbling pipes and empty reservoirs. Oui, Monsieur Speaker. Myself, c'est Monsieur Doctor Speaker, but Monsieur Speaker. Est-ce que quoi ça? C'est normalement tenu 3 ministres qui est responsable pour de l'eau, pour WASCO. Yo tenu premier ministre là, yo tenu un ministre pour toute bagaille, yo tenu ministre agricole. Et là tenu un bon ministre qui a été en bonne place, signé ministre là, Mais yo pas de ça bay opportunité pour ite ça faire ça ite vle faire. Et pas présent où est qu'à travail et puis un gouvernement qui soyez. Un gouvernement qui a bénéfice malheureux toute cette Lucien. To add insult to injury, Mr. Speaker, they spent millions of the people's money on desilting the John Compton Dam. And what was the result? Pli la boue à dam là. Pli la boue à dam là. I think it's 8% that was desilted. Mr. Speaker, that was not fiscal management. That was a policy of cosmetic PR, an unforgivable procrastination. Let the record show that back in 2018, the member for Babono, then one of the 3 ministers on that merry-go-round for Wasco, stood and admitted that a staggering 43% of our water was non-revenue, like Prime Minister just mentioned. Non-revenue water. 43% of the water produced was being lost to leaks, theft, and broken infrastructure. And what did they do to fix that issue after admitting it? Absolutely nothing. Nothing. They allowed the situation to deteriorate further. They kicked the can down the road. But this government, the Labour Party government, is stopping the decay. We are fixing it. Let the record reflect that even before I assumed the portfolio of Minister for Public Utilities, this government was already moving in the right direction, doing the hard work to reverse the damage left behind. Now, Mr. Speaker, I was so looking forward to the leader of the opposition being here with us today, for similar reasons as the Prime Minister said. Because I would have expected him to stand in this debate and attempt to fearmonger about the national debt. He would have likely complained that the government is borrowing money. We heard him on the radio last week, I think it was. But let us address that directly, Mr. Speaker. There is a fundamental difference in economics between borrowing to consume and borrowing to invest. We are not borrowing money to line the pockets of political cronies. We are not issuing backdoor guarantees for foreign companies. We are making a strategic, sovereign investment in the survival and economic future of this nation. Furthermore, the people of St. Lucia have a right to know that their money will be spent efficiently. They deserve value for money. Are we borrowing blindly? Absolutely not. Just a few weeks ago, this very government brought amendments to the Procurement Act to this Honorable House. We patched the loopholes of the past. We ensured that statutory corporations like Wasco are given the latitude to operate and to do their own procurement, but strictly within the guidelines of the Procurement Act and in accordance with the highest international best practices. The CDB demands transparency, and this government demands the same. The mechanisms are in place to ensure that every single cent of this $22.8 million goes directly into the ground, into the excavation, into the pipes, and into improving Wasco. Mr. Speaker, let us clearly define our short-term goals for Wasco in St. Lucia, or for water, rather, in St. Lucia. Our immediate vision or mission is twofold. Financial stabilization of the utility and the laying down of enabling foundations for long-term growth. It's twofold. This loan from the CDB targets the very heart of our vulnerabilities in the north. Mr. Speaker, to truly appreciate what this investment means, we must understand the complete journey of water in St. Lucia. It begins with production, capturing rainfall, storing it in our catchments, holding it in the John Compton Dam and other reservoirs. It moves to transmission, pushing that raw water through pipelines to our treatment plants where it is cleaned and made safe. and it ends at distribution, delivering clean, reliable water through the pipes that run under our streets and into the homes of our people. Water production, transmission, and distribution. The full journey from dam to the tap. Mr. Speaker, for too long, every single stage of that journey has been compromised. The Ninth Water Project will change that, because the project targets the very pipeline that serves 58% of the population of St. Lucia. 58%, Mr. Speaker. I think a large portion of this 58% is with the member for Grosley. Yes. So, Mr. Speaker, the Ninth Water Project will change that, because this project, it is targeting a large part of our population, and our revenue streams can really come on board, and Wasco can become a lot more viable. Right now, the water from the John Compton Dam is moving through a 24-inch pipeline installed all the way back in the 1980s. It is old, it is corroded, it is failing our people. With this $22.8 million investment, we are ripping out 5 kilometers of that outdated, rotting pipe. And we are replacing it, not with the same, with a massive, resilient 32-inch pipeline. It's a bigger pipeline. And as I say ripping it out, it would be too expensive to actually take off the old pipeline. So we're running another pipeline, a new pipeline, parallel to the existing one, so we don't have the cost of digging this old pipeline up. But Mr. Speaker, we are not just laying down bigger pipes. We are bringing Wasco into the 21st century. The project funds the installation of bulk meters and state-of-the-art electronic control systems. What does that mean for the average St. Lucian? It means we will have the technology to monitor our water transmission in real time. It means we will detect the leaks the moment they happen, not weeks later when the reservoirs are empty. Mr. Speaker, the 43% non-revenue water loss ends with this project. 43% of every drop of water we produced, pumped, treated, pressurized, and pushed through those pipes, never reached a single paying customer. It bled into the ground. It was swallowed by broken 1980s infrastructure. Nearly half of our water gone. Gone before it could quench a single thirst. That is the reality. We are stopping the leaks. We are stopping the waste. We are bringing the technology to protect our water. But Mr. Speaker, replacing pipes and fixing leaks is only half the battle. Because even a perfect pipeline is no guarantee of water security. When the very climate that feeds our catchments and fills our dam is right now changing right before our eyes. We are living in an era defined by climate change. The impacts are no longer theoretical. They are outside our windows. We see it in the brutal, extended dry seasons that patch our earth. We see it in the intense, unpredictable rainfall that causes our rivers to swell and damages our infrastructure through heavy siltation. Therefore, this pipeline replacement is not just a repair job. It is a vital act of climate adaptation. It is how we build national resilience against an environment that's changing. But as a responsible government, while we invest heavily to ensure Wasco does well, we must also partner with our citizens. Water is a shared national responsibility. Moi, je dis Jean Saint-Lucie, de l'eau, ces affaires, nous toutes. C'est pas ça Wasco tout seul. I want to use this platform for you, Mr. Speaker, to strongly encourage all St. Lucians, like our Prime Minister have been doing and asking us for so much over the last few weeks and months, to return to the practice of rainwater harvesting Our foreparents used to do it. Right now we don't. We put in storage, but we don't harvest the rainwater. So we depend on WASCO to fill the storage, and we allow the rainfall to just come to our gutters, go down through, the gutters around the roof, and then go down through the concrete gutters, go down to the sea, just wash away. We must capture the blessings of the rain. We must capture it when they fall. This government is not just asking for St. Lucians to adapt. We are giving you the tools to do so. That is why, through our Prime Minister and this Labour government, we debated and passed VAT exemptions on water tanks and other essential plumbing fixtures. You all would recall that. We have deliberately made it cheaper and easier for the average St. Lucian family to buy a tank, hook up their gutters, and build their own resilience at home. Do not miss the opportunity, St. Lucians. Choiseul Saltibus, do not miss the opportunity to harvest water during the next rainfall. This morning we had quite a bit of rainfall, and I know that several Choiseulians harvested water. Because that is what we do. Because WASCO is not everywhere. Mr. Speaker, I have just spoken to you about our government's policy to empower citizens through rainwater harvesting. But this Labour Party government does not just give advice, we deliver real solutions. And that brings me, Mr. Speaker, to the second resolution before this Honourable House, the rehabilitation and upgrade of the Thebes water supply system. This project is the perfect bookend to the pipeline replacement we just discussed. The Thebes plant is old. It is struggling at only 60% efficiency. With this $4.23 million investment from the CARICOM Development Fund, we are not just repairing it, we are making it greener, we are making it smarter, we are making it more resilient. And Mr. Speaker, I want the people of St. Lucia to hear this clearly. Not all of this is a loan. A significant portion, over $670,000 US, is a grant. Money that we do not have to pay back. So when you talk about Madipwete, this is not Madipwete. And what this grant will pay for, Mr. Speaker? It will pay for the installation of a solar energy system to cut WASCO's electricity bill as well. And it will pay for the very thing I just spoke about, the installation of rainwater harvesting systems. It will pay for rainwater harvesting systems in the homes of our most vulnerable citizens. We are taking the macroeconomics of a CARICOM loan, and we are putting it directly onto the roofs and into the yards of the people who need it most. That is what we are doing. But Mr. Speaker, while we are fixing the major systems in the north, we have not forgotten those who have suffered outside of the northern area. And that brings me to our third and maybe final resolution about water for today, which the member for Miku North is very happy about, and the people of Miku North would be happy as well. The Patience Community Water Supply Project. Mr. Speaker, the name of the community is Patience. And Lord knows they have been patient. They have been patient, Mr. Speaker. The official records describe this area as one of the worst supplied areas in St. Lucia. Think about that, Mr. Speaker. Muddy water when it rains, expensive water trucks when it's dry. This is the reality the people of Patience, Monrepo, and Pralin have had to endure for years. But member for Miku North, I'm here to bring you relief for our Prime Minister, our great Prime Minister, Mr. Philippe Joseph Pierre. Now, this resolution is an amendment to increase the original loan amount. It's an amendment. And we know that the opposition, who we expected here so much today, will try to make mischief with this. But let us be clear. Since the project was first costed in 2022, global inflation, shipping costs, and material prices have skyrocketed. And it's something that they know. These are the new global realities. And as a matter of fact, Mr. Speaker, in less than 2 weeks, the price of a barrel of oil has jumped very high. From what, $70 to now 120 and climbing? Mr. Speaker, a government of the past might have used these challenges as an excuse to abandon this project. But this Labour government, this Labour Party government, under the steady hands and great leadership of Philip Joseph Pierre, will not leave the people of Patience or the people of St. Lucia behind. That is a fact. We are increasing the investment to get the job done. We are building the intakes, we are building the pumping station, we are building the treatment plants. And we are bringing clean, reliable water to the people of Patience for the first time in a very, very long time. I see my colleague member is very, very, very happy. Smiles on his face. Yes, you're welcome. Mr. Speaker, when you look at these three resolutions together, the pipeline, the treatment plants, and the Patience project, you see a story of a government that is serious, a story of a government that has a plan, and a story of a government that is finally fixing Wasco. Finally starting to fix Wasco. Mr. Speaker, in conclusion, the choice before this House today is absolutely clear. We can choose the path of the past, the path of neglect, the path of a crumbling utility, or we can choose the path of action, resilience, and responsibility. This government, under this Prime Minister, has chosen action. We will rebuild the pipelines, we will secure the dam, we will empower the utility, and we will protect the people. Because we understand the assignment. We understand that it is not just about utility management. It is about human dignity. Water is life, Mr. Speaker. L'eau, c'est la vie. And we must not forget that. St. Lucians, water is life, l'eau, c'est la vie. And because water is life, we will do whatever it takes to protect life. I implore all members to support this necessary and historic resolution. I thank you, Mr. Dr. Speaker. I thank you.
The member for Miku North.
Sorry. It's okay, I don't need it. Up on the shop. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I'd like to lend my voice in support to the motions that were laid earlier, particularly to the one that deals with the Patience Community Water Supply Project. Mr. Speaker, permit me just a quick second. Let me just extend Happy International Women's Day to all the women in my constituency particularly, and by extension all the women in St. Lucia. Mr. Speaker, I won't be too long, but before I go any further, I want to give just a historical context of the Patience water supply system. I think this system was established way before even my mother had the age of consent. So which means I wasn't born yet, Mr. Speaker. And probably 5 or 6 MPs would have presided over the current system in Patience. Because you will hear some people say later that what we are doing now, it is the right time to do it. And I agree it is the right time. But I want to tell you, Mr. Speaker, and to lay it into context, that the problems that we experience with the Patience water supply is not a problem that started or popped its head somewhere around 2021. This is a problem that existed way before I even considered entering into elective politics. And the truth is, very little to no improvements were done at the current supply. I think sometime within the reign of the former administration, 2021, between 2016 and 2021, what they would have done was bring in some bigger, I think on the BNTF program, they brought in some bigger tanks. But you bring in bigger tanks, but you don't have the water to fill in the tanks. But nothing was really done to the system itself. Mr. Speaker, those people from my constituency will be able to tell you that the current past year's water supply depends heavily on gravity to operate. Also, the catchment is somewhere, I think I can use the term, behind God's back. And when we have heavy rains, it takes Wasco days to get to the area where the catchment is, especially if it is clogged. So sometimes you have heavy rainfall, leaves, branches, all sorts of things coming to the system, to the catchment area. And it takes Wasco days upon days to get to the area, to clear it up, and to once again release the water for the people of Miku North. The past year's water supply provides water to the northern end of the Miku North constituency. So we speak about Prale, Mamiku, Loba, Laho, Monripo, Grass Street, Patience, St. Mary, Margaretut, La Pointe. So these are the areas that this system supplies, Mr. Speaker. And the harsh reality is, anytime we have heavy rains, we go probably days and sometimes weeks without water in the northern end of the community, in the northern end of the constituency. As we speak now, Mr. Speaker, in La Pointe, the people, those people in the bottom of La Pointe, some in the top of the base and Margaretut, have not had water for about 3 or 4 days. And this is why the Prime Minister speaks about harvesting rainwater. The current system is not powerful enough to provide water on a regular basis to people in elevated areas, like at the top of the hill in Margaretut and on the base. So these people suffer day in and day out, Mr. Speaker, from water disruptions and water shortages. Again, Mr. Speaker, I want to remind this Honorable House that this is a problem that existed since the days that I attended the past year's combined school. And what have we seen over the 50 years from the existence of the system? We've seen significant housing improvements. Currently, we have housing development in Wen with maybe hundreds of houses. All over the community, people are building beautiful homes. Young people are buying lots and are building homes, placing even more pressure on an already stressed and strained system. Mr. Speaker, when we have water shortages, it is not Jeremiah Norbert who suffers. It is those children who attend the Myra Sachs daycare. It is those children who attend the Pasias Early Childhood Center, the children who attend the Monripo Pasias Combined School, those who attend the Emmanuel SDA School, and those patients who visit the Monripo Wellness Center. It is also those families who have elderlies to care for, who depend on a constant water supply to provide for their family, those who cannot afford water tanks. It is those individuals, Mr. Speaker, who really feel the brunt of the water shortages in the community. I did not make any promises, Mr. Speaker, upon assuming office in 2021. However, I went to the Honorable Prime Minister and I realized that the member for Choiseul, although being very, I think I'm in a position to say that I can call him very new in this business, Mr. Speaker. I see you already want to take responsibility for a project we started somewhere in 2023. Yeah, Kifokato Havai. Mr. Speaker, I will not dampen his spirit, but I want to commend the Honorable Prime Minister and the member for Castries East. Because I remember all too well how the conversation went when I went to the Prime Minister and I said to him, Prime Minister, this is the situation which exists in Miku North, especially in the northern end of the constituency. for decades the people have been suffering because of water shortages. And this is not a situation where we don't have a constant water supply coming down. We have a Fond River that has water running 24/7. We have the Piton River. We have several rivers that we can tap into, Mr. Speaker. And when I went to the Honorable Prime Minister and I told him about the problems of the people in Miku North, no sooner than I could imagine, the Director of Finance called me to tell me, even without the Prime Minister announcing to me before, Minister, we're working on getting the Passias Water Supply Project going for you. Mr. Speaker, I was expecting the Prime Minister to do good, but I mean, not such quick time. So I want to commend the Honorable Prime Minister for not just listening, but for taking bold and decisive action in a time when a community was crying out for help. And Mr. Speaker, today we are here. The project, I can tell you, started in 2023. I remember in 2022, the negotiation started and all of the paperwork were finalized and we were able to finally break ground somewhere in 2023. And as we speak now, if you were to go in St. Mary, Mr. Speaker, you would realize, Upper St. Mary, you would realize that we have a beautiful building there. You would realize that all plans and excavation works have been completed. If you were to go to Piton, you'd realize the area for the catchment and the treatment plant works are ongoing there nicely. And hopefully, with this addition, the amendment to this loan, with this addition of, I think, $781,493,000 US dollars, we should be able to bring this project to completion. So, Mr. Speaker, I'm extremely excited. So when I hear people talk about, oh, we are coming to this house to borrow X, Y, and Z amount of money and to try to demerit and discredit what we are about to do here in this house, Mr. Speaker, I will say a simple truth. I'll make a simple comparison, Mr. Speaker. If we were to convert all the US dollars that we see being spent on the Passias Water Supply Project, and we were to think of the thousands of people who are going to benefit from this expenditure, vis-a-vis a 7 million that was spent and nobody can yet get a vaccine, Mr. Speaker, I will tell you every day of my life I'd rather come here and debate that amount of money that we're borrowing to help the people of Miku North. A $7 million was spent, Mr. Speaker, and we cannot tell me to date, you cannot show me one person who have received a vaccine from the $7 million. But you're going to query less than $7 million that is going to be spent to help all the people of Margaret Tooth, all the people of Lac Point, all the people of Monrepo, Prale, Mamiku, Passias, St. Mary. So, Speaker, you can imagine the number of people who live in these areas who are going to benefit from this injection. You can understand how this will positively impact the people of Miku North. You can understand how this will positively impact the school children and those people who occupy the walls of the Monrepo Wellness Center. So, Mr. Speaker, I'm extremely elated and I'm pleased to stand and lend my voice in support for this particular amendment. And Mr. Speaker, if you permit me, I would like to repeat quickly what I said in Creole so that I know I have a huge Creole contingent in my constituency who always find time to listen to us when we come to this honorable house, Mr. Speaker, and I want to speak directly to them this afternoon. Jodia, nous avons vu dans Kaikosit et puis gouvernement Sala, nous avons prêté $781 million US américains. Et l'argent ça là, c'est pour continuer travailler nous a commencé à sous projet gloire à Kachime. Un projet nous a créé Passias Water Improvement Supply Project. Projet ça là, il a bénéfice Jean Poilin, Jean Mamikou, Jean Mopo, Laro, Lomba, Kachime, St. Marie, Margaret Tooth. Tout le monde qui sorti from Margaret Tooth privé Poilin et comme mi-temps projet ça quand il mène bénéfice ba yo dernier. Mais avant moi aller tout le Mr. Speaker, moi voulais dire nous pouvons garder combien l'année système gloire en mot pour combien l'année il a. Système ça là en poche 50 l'année depuis avant moi fait depuis avant maman moi était large pour faire système ça là. Et puis moi j'ai dit about 5 différents même gouvernement a passé même parlement a passé et bien a représenté Jean Miku avec système ça t'es là. Pour combien il y a après il y a peut-être en haut 20 années nous ni monde qui a souffert pour la petit problème de l'eau à commune ça là. Et puis là la panique de l'eau, maman est passé à l'école Kachime, maman est passé à l'école Emmanuel SD Amopo. Grand citoyen, yo passé à joindre service à Health Center, yo passé l'année grand monde qui brise de l'eau et yo passé à Ford Water Tank. Et because you pas dans tank, la panique là nous ka aller de les 7 jours, de les 8 jours, de les 1 semaine, 2 semaines. Et là, nous allons presque 3 semaines sans l'eau à la commune. Et ça a mis tout le monde à bas chaque pressure. Maman pour être à Kai et puis chaud parce que l'école a fermé. Mouni pour acheter l'eau, choc pour mener l'eau. Et puis là, côté à la commune qui a sous monde, qui a sous Beslan, et à sous monde malgré tout. Et puis c'est monde ça parce que because of qualité système là nous ni un système que nous a dépassé sous gravity. Nous ni en situation que l'eau pas nous pas ni assez ça que elevation et puis assez par pour mener l'eau à monter ces monde. So chaque lait ou quand un gens malgré tout expressement gens les monde malgré tout car il yo pas joindre l'eau pour plusieurs semaines. Celle ça moi savent qui était fait avant moi tour politique à sous système ça là c'est yo te mené un gros tank yo met un gros tank là bas mais problème là c'est yo pas joindre assez l'eau système là pas mener assez l'eau pour plein tank ça là. Avant les l'année go la pluie go l'eau descend côté à ko l'eau a assemblé puis ka baoué et puis mouni pour marcher aller là parce que machine pas arriver là et puis yo ni par la main yo ni pour tirer toute feuille tout oisier tout gros boubier qui là pour vier bay moun so moun ça vier joindre l'eau à commune ça process ça t'es après délai semaine délai 2 semaines et puis tout temps ça la moun ka été sans l'eau. Les notre gouvernement, moi avec moi du premier ministre là, dat nous un problème sérieux puis gros à Miku Nord. Et puis moi du premier ministre là, moi pas ça poser. Et moi pas ça pour sommeil. Car savent dat l'année moun ka aller 6 semaines sans l'eau et c'est moun ça pas ça même occupé pas ça même acheter un tank d'eau pour yo ça sembler l'eau yo. Comment du premier ministre ça? Il dit moi pas ni pour dire rien encore parole coûte pas mener des arguments et puis quand il dit quand il fait il dit qu'il joindre l'argent pour mettre un système neuf by Jean Miku et puis nous commencer projet ça en l'année 2023 et là nous commencer projet ça là soit aller à présent cette marou kay là go kay là soit aller piton bolovia kay nous a commencé travail là tout partout il a excavé là il a mis tout partout plate et travail là calé là belle mais ou quand tout le monde savent compte qu'a passé de les prix qu'a aussi et puis nous tenir l'argent pour faire le projet mais nous a ouais haussement puis un chaise bagarre qui a servi pour projet ça là pour la petite ça à présent nous n'est pour increase miser l'argent nous pour aussi miser l'argent nous t'ai servi pour faire projet ça so on dit à nous là avec nous qu'a point nous qu'a prêté $7,781 from ça nous a créé Caribbean Development Fund pour nous ça continuer projet ça là et puis plan c'est pour bout l'année ça et bonne l'année prochaine nous ça finaliser projet ça là et puis jamais pour pas qu'il y ait peste problème et bien il y ait plus problème et puis glo nous ka vivre dans temps que nous go development ka fait en win nous ni moun ka fait go kay tout partout au Lyon constituency et puis c'est kay ça là compliqué ka fait il ka met plus pressure sur système gloire dat nous ni so Mr. Speaker ça nous a fait order c'est nous a prêté petit l'argent pour nous continuer projet ça et puis pour nous amener compléter projet ça là et puis c'est Jean Mopo avec Jean Kachime Jean Laprette kay ça joindre ça nous a créé a steady flow of water. So, Mr. Speaker, again, I just want to lend my voice in support to this resolution. Mr. Speaker, I want to thank the Prime Minister for his bold and decisive action in particular or in relation to the Pastias water supply project. So I thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I want to wish the people of Pastias, Monrepo, and the whole of Miku North well, and tell them to just bear a little more patience, Mr. Speaker, as we bring this project to completion. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Member for Castries Southeast. Member for Miku North, your microphone.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Good afternoon, colleagues. Mr. Speaker, before I turn to the matter at hand, allow me to first acknowledge a very important moment in our global and national calendar. To extend heartfelt greetings to the women of St. Lucia, and indeed the women across the world who was celebrated just days ago on International Women's Day. In particular, I want to recognize the women who stood with me during my campaign, the women who continue to support me in my work as parliamentary representative for Castries Southeast, and the women who are quiet architects of our communities, those who nurture our children, sustain our households, support our farmers, and anchor the social fabric of our nation. Mr. Speaker, just recently I had the privilege of representing St. Lucia and the Caribbean at the regional launch of the FAO's International Year of the Female Farmer, held during our conference in Latin America and the Caribbean in Brazil over the last few weeks. It was a proud moment for our country and our women in agriculture. It was also a powerful reminder that women are not only participants in our food systems, they are leaders, innovators, and guardians of food security. But Mr. Speaker, as I reflect on that experience, and as I make my contribution to this debate on the development of our national water pipelines and systems, one simple truth becomes abundantly clear. Without water, there can be no agriculture. And without agriculture, there is no food security. Mr. Speaker, the portfolio that I now have the honor to lead, agriculture, fisheries, food security, and sustainable development, is fundamentally dependent on the availability and reliability of water. Water is the lifeblood of agriculture. It nourishes crops, sustains livestock, supports aquaculture, fisheries, and enables agro processing and the industries. Mr. Speaker, the reality is that when our water systems fail, the entire food production chain is at risk. Farmers cannot irrigate their fields, livestock producers cannot sustain their animals, fisherfolk cannot properly process and preserve their catch, and communities, particularly in rural areas, face hardship. In a small island developing state like St. Lucia, where climate variability is becoming more intense and unpredictable, water infrastructure is no longer simply a public utility issue. It is a national food security issue. And our Minister for National Security understands this fully well, which is why this government is here to finally fix what the United Workers' Party could not do. Mr. Speaker, you're also aware that my portfolio includes sustainable development. And climate change is already affecting the availability and distribution of water across St. Lucia. We are witnessing longer dry seasons, more intense drought periods, irregular rainfall patterns. Fortunately, thank God, we have some rain over the last couple days, and even greater pressure on our watersheds. These changes and challenges are not theoretical. They are experienced by farmers across St. Lucia. from Dennery to Soufre, Miku to Babono, and certainly in Castries Southeast. Because when our farmers cannot depend on our water systems, they reduce planting. When planting declines, food supply declines. When food supply declines, we become increasingly dependent on imports, Mr. Speaker. This is precisely the vulnerability that the Caribbean faces, which is why we have the CARICOM 25 by 2025 +5 regional food security agenda. Mr. Speaker, that ambition of reducing our reliance on imports cannot be realized without strengthening our water systems that sustain our agricultural production. Too often we speak of water infrastructure solely in the context of domestic consumption. And while that is critically important, we must recognize that water infrastructure is a strategic investment in agriculture and rural development. Reliability on our water systems enable modern water irrigation systems, expansion of our greenhouse agriculture, increased crop productivity, and climate resilient farming. Mr. Speaker, one of the major limitations to expanding protected agriculture and high-value crop production in St. Lucia is the lack of reliant and consistent irrigation infrastructure. If we are serious about transforming our agricultural sector, these investments in our water pipelines, reservoirs, irrigation networks, and watershed protection must be treated as foundational national priorities. Mr. Speaker, speaking of national priorities, I want to pause for a moment to thank the former Minister for Agriculture, the Member of Parliament for Dennery South, who worked very closely with farmers and provided relief in distributing 1,000 gallon water tanks to farmers all across St. Lucia. Farmers are grateful for this relief, and we look forward to strengthening this initiative very soon. Thank you, Honorable Member. Mr. Speaker, all of these efforts to establishing our self-sufficiency in producing and consuming our own food that is reliable, sustainable, affordable, and nutritious cannot be achieved if we do not have reliant water systems. The thought of water scarcity, Mr. Speaker, is a scary one, and it threatens that objective that without water, our farmers' crop yields decline, production costs increase, food prices rise because, you know, we will more than likely be importing more because we cannot grow our own, and rural livelihoods will become unstable. Mr. Speaker, the motion before us today, as Minister for Agriculture, I am particularly grateful because it will allow for more support toward youth-led backyard farming initiatives. It will enable our women to scale their agricultural enterprises and for our people in general to improve food production at the household and community level, only because we will have better access to water systems, Mr. Speaker. But Mr. Speaker, whilst I have explained to you and to this honorable House how critical access to water is to our national food security, I must also reflect on how we got to this point. Because, Mr. Speaker, when I look at the history of the previous administration coming to the House of Parliament to borrow money for water systems, I must ask myself this simple question. Why are we here to do the same thing that they once did, Mr. Speaker? We should not be coming to this honorable House today to borrow for resources to repair the same pipelines that money was already borrowed for, Mr. Speaker. And just moments ago, my colleague, the Minister for Wasco, spoke about how 43% of our water does not even reach our homes because it is lost due to leaks, broken pipes, and outdated infrastructure. Mr. Speaker, which government in good conscience can truly claim that it cares about people when such a situation was allowed to persist for so many years? And when we examine some of the decisions that were taken, the concern becomes even greater. The people of St. Lucia are now being told that over $61 million was spent on a project to desilt the dam. Yet today, despite that enormous expenditure of public funds, we are told that less than 10% of the actual project work was completed. And Mr. Speaker, $61 million is no small amount of money for a state like ours. Could have repaired our pipelines, expanded irrigation for our farmers, and strengthened our water system across communities, of course. But Mr. Speaker, we're still left with that serious question. And I must say this respectfully, because I know we won the election, and we had a resounding victory in Castries Southeast of more than 1,000 votes. Still, very much, these persons who lost their seats are still playing critical roles in their party and being spokespersons. So I believe they owe it to the people of St. Lucia to still tell us this. What did they do with that $61 million? One of them was the chief minister for everything, representing the constituency that I now represent. $61 million. He was Minister for Water, Minister for Agriculture, Minister for Economic Affairs, Minister for Infrastructure. And he is still the first deputy political leader of the United Workers' Party. We, the people of Castries Southeast and St. Lucia, want to know, what did you do with that $61 million? And we will not stop, we will not rest, because transparency in government is absolutely important. We are not here to waste the money of the people of St. Lucia. We are here to give a fair account of what we do as servants of the people to these hard-earned, hard-working taxpayers, Mr. Speaker. So we will continue to ask the question, and I hope they continue to run on familiar talk shows to provide the answer, since they are not here in Parliament today to do the same. Mr. Speaker, it is a remarkable thing that we are doing, finally, as a government that cares and a government that puts people first, to prioritize this national security issue of ensuring that we have sustainable water pipelines. I am very happy for the people of Miku North, because their minister, their representative, has been advocating day and night, and finally that project will be delivered to the people of Miku North, a constituency that was once supporting the United Workers' Party, but it is the second term that they have seen the light and elected our colleague of Miku North. Mr. Speaker, in addition, I know that the Thebes water plant is central. And whilst I acknowledge what my colleague said about 47% of the water not reaching our homes, I'm very, very much looking forward to that. Because whilst the Thebes plant is located in Castries South, Cicero, the people of Castries Southeast, right next door, are affected if we do not strengthen these water systems, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, finally, I just want to remind every single one of us, water security is not just a WASCO issue. Water security is not just for the Minister for Infrastructure to ensure that the systems are strengthened. Water security is the responsibility of each and every government ministry. And for us to ensure that we never come back and have to borrow for what we are just doing or what they should have done, we must adopt a whole of government approach, Mr. Speaker. It affects agriculture, it affects health, tourism, industry, environmental protection, and of course our community development. So it is without a doubt that I stand before this House today and lend my unwavering support to the Prime Minister, who has not borrowed for 2 years. And I know we'll have a follow-up conversation on that, Mr. Speaker, but it really speaks to the strength of our economic growth, Mr. Speaker. It speaks to how our Prime Minister has managed our economy. And I have absolutely no doubt that moving forward, we will only come here to borrow for exactly what the people of St. Lucia want and give a full account to the people of St. Lucia as to what we are using this money for. So as Minister for Agriculture, Fisheries, Food Security and Sustainable Development, I say thank you to the Prime Minister and I support this motion fully. Thank you.
Member for Grizzly.
Bring it here.
Dr. Speaker, Mr. Speaker, I rise to support the motion to allow the Minister of Finance full authorization to borrow this financing towards our water system. But please allow me to firstly congratulate you on achieving this new nomenclature, this new established sort of recognition for who you have been to not just yourself and your family, but to all of St. Lucia. Sincerely, congratulations. I also wish to, like my colleagues, say a special good day to the women of St. Lucia in celebration of Women's Day, and specifically some of the women in my life that has contributed to me being here. Specifically, Caroline Kazimi. Mr. Speaker, I pray for your protection. Specifically, Caroline Kazimi, who is my mom, Florence Kazimi, who was my grandmom, and really a stalwart of the St. Lucia Labour Party, who really passed it on from generation to generation. My mom's sisters, I really grew up in this sort of matriarchal community. Liz, Fawn, Claudia, you know. I want to make sure I forget anybody. Mary, that we call Na. And of course, the woman who paid for my CXCs on Mary Terrace Street. Will never ever forget Teacher Farah for your contribution to my life as a woman to ensure that I'm here today. I'll stop there. Mr. Speaker, Mr. Speaker, the motion before us here today really allows us to reflect on where we are today and one very important fact. Mr. Speaker, elections matter. And if you don't think elections matter, ask the people of the United States of America. Elections matter. Because, Mr. Speaker, in about 2015, 2016, we know that approval was granted for a dredging fee and a loan was secured for desilting the John Compton Dam. And of course, our colleagues have dealt with this in nauseam. But as the parliamentary representative for Grosile, I cannot sit by and not speak to how the decision in 2016 have affected their lives tremendously till today. Mr. Speaker, as you've heard, over $60 million was spent to desilt only 8% of the John Compton Dam, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, they spent 5 years in government. They went into a 6th year, Mr. Speaker. They indicated and saw that 47% of water in this country at the time was either being wasted or not accounted for, with people having access to it without compensation. They did nothing. As a matter of fact, Mr. Speaker, the only thing they could speak to was the construction of this Wasco building in the south with mirrors. And that is what they were, Mr. Speaker, a government of flashing mirrors, Mr. Speaker. They focused only on these mirrors on top that people could see. While during that time, the Wasco outfits, the pipes, were deteriorating further and further, and they did nothing, Mr. Speaker. And so, Mr. Speaker, it took this government to come in, Mr. Speaker. And from day one, we've listened. We've engaged Wasco. We've tried at every juncture to provide financing to ensure that Wasco stays afloat and that they can start to tackle the issues of water in this country, Mr. Speaker. So, Mr. Speaker, this borrowing to replace the current raw water pipeline is very well worth it. Because, Mr. Speaker, if the John Compton Dam has water and the raw water line cannot provide or send that water, pump it to the Peebles plant, Mr. Speaker, then up north we suffer. And for years, Mr. Speaker, they did nothing. Mr. Speaker, the people that I represent, close to 30,000, Mr. Speaker. In addition to that 30,000, Mr. Speaker, we have all the dynamics of businesses in that constituency, Mr. Speaker. In addition to the businesses in that constituency, Mr. Speaker, we have thousands of tourists who come to our country and they stay in the constituency of Groseley. Mr. Speaker, this government have renovated or have provided the landscape that has allowed for almost every hotel in the north to expand or to do some form of exercise to ensure that more tourists come into the constituency of Groseley. And Mr. Speaker, it is because of the work that we have done that has expanded our tourism product, that has made it absolutely mandatory that we get water to the north of this country, Mr. Speaker. And so when I hear conversation about borrowing, if with all what that is happening in this country, if with the problems we have right now with water, if you are not going to borrow to solve the water issue, what will you borrow for, Mr. Speaker? If there is one form of element or commodity that an opposition should come out and say, I agree with, is the borrowing to fix the situation of water in this country, Mr. Speaker. Yet still, they take to social media. They believe that governance is done on social media. And so they cannot find themselves here today for whatever reason. I cannot assume. But if you, as somebody who oversaw government for into 6 years, cannot be honest to the people and tell them this is worthwhile borrowing, how can we ever trust you to run any institution in this country again, Mr. Speaker? And so, Mr. Speaker, despite this massive population up north, the Prime Minister, I think, I don't know if we are on this wavelength right now, spoke to Darren Sammy Stadium. That was one of my main points to make. This is an international ground. If you're not going to ensure that we have water to maintain this facility for our West Indians, for our young men and women that are making us proud, how can we say we are a government of progress, Mr. Speaker? Mr. Speaker, we now have the Francis Babalastic grounds in Groseley, Mr. Speaker, a mini stadium. We need to ensure that facilities such as these are always maintained, Mr. Speaker, that we can have the surface ready. And so we need water, Mr. Speaker, I beg for your protection, so that we can provide these individuals with the facilities that they need. And Mr. Speaker, it's facilities such as these with proper programming that allows young people to become the Darren Sammies who just coached a West Indies team that nobody gave any hope to the business end of a World Cup. It's facilities like these that ensure that Johnson Charles and Akim Ogis, Kiana, Joseph and the rest can have a facility for them to use, Mr. Speaker. And this government is ensuring that this is done today. And so, Mr. Speaker, if this raw water line is not upgraded, we will continue to have problems at the Thebes plant, which would mean that we will not continue, or they will not operate at 100% capacity to deal with the constituency of Grosley. And so, Mr. Speaker, at Thebes, we are working to replace a 24-inch pipeline, Mr. Speaker, which has become insufficient for what is going on up north, and to replace it, Mr. Speaker, with a 32-inch pipeline, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, we are working and we are borrowing to ensure that the modern construction of a pipeline is done that is not the 1970s and 80s that exists right now, Mr. Speaker. So better modernized water being pumped up north. Next generation pipes, Mr. Speaker, replaced so that anytime we have a leak, it is easier for us to deal with in a strategic manner, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, we've heard that the 10 filters at Thebes are not at this optimum, and so this financing will ensure, Mr. Speaker, that it finally gets to where it needs to be. Mr. Speaker, I listened to the member for Miku North, and I see his smiles, Mr. Speaker, as it pertains to Pasias and the surrounding communities. And Mr. Speaker, I feel happy for him, because when we were dealing with our situation at Bois d'Orge, the people understood that water is something that you have to deal with as soon as possible. And though we've not completed every single area, we will get there in time to come. And so, Mr. Speaker, I'll take a page out of the Prime Minister and member for Castries East book, Mr. Speaker, when he came to a dilapidated Grosley police station. When he saw the conditions the police officers from Grosley lived in, when he saw where they slept, where they tried to work out, where they operated from, when he saw that the previous government had absolutely ignored them, he came in as a prime minister, and the first thing he did was apologize. He said to them on behalf of government, and that is so instructive. Not that he created the situation, but he is part of government. As a prime minister and a government member, I apologize to you for what you've suffered. And so today, Mr. Speaker, the people of Piat, who up to today told me that they've not had water for 3 days in their taps. The people of Monnier, who for 2 days could not send their child to school. Asukanal, the people of Montsepa, who've been patient with this government as they deal with this water situation. The people of Beausejour, the people of Deramo, the people of Vesikwe, and of course the people of Cap Estate, who are waiting for that water to be pumped up like it used to be before. As your parliamentary representative, I apologize as a government member for what was done to you. I apologize for a previous administration that could have taken $60 million and made that situation less of a burden for you. And as a government who has put the people first, we are going to do all that we can within the next few years to improve the water supply to every single one of you. And so, Mr. Speaker, I support this motion and continue to support this government and this Prime Minister as we make the lives of people better in this country. I thank you.
The member for Castries Central.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, might I join my colleagues? You bring the podium. Of specificity because, you know, it breeds hatred, Mr. Speaker. You know, except to say, there are some closer than others. But I want to thank all those persons who have been instrumental in shaping who Richard Frederick has turned out to be, including, Mr. Speaker, those who have gone to meet the Maker. Mr. Speaker, again, I want to join the bandwagon in congratulating you. Mr. Speaker, one thing I have not said, and I think I want to place it on record. Your character has shown a resilience that seemingly is beyond comprehension and beyond human ability. I say so because, Mr. Speaker, at some point when you were not feeling that well, I felt your recuperation was far-fetched, I confess. But not only have you bounced back, Mr. Speaker, you have bounced back in such a meaningful manner, Mr. Speaker, that you have added accolades to all you have achieved in this world. Kudos to you. Congratulations from the deepest echelons of my heart. Mr. Speaker, there is absolutely no doubt that I will support the motions. And I want to speak to the motions, Mr. Speaker, collaboratively rather than individually. Mr. Speaker, why are we here? Why are we here to borrow money for water purposes? Why? From 2011, 2012, the powers that be realized that St. Lucia had a water problem. There was a problem, Mr. Speaker, and the pinnacle of the problem seemingly was with the Roseau Dam. Apparently at that time it was seen as having outlived its usefulness, or had been contaminated, or had caught up with so much silt that urgent work was necessary. The urgent work, Mr. Speaker, was tabulated to have costed millions and millions of dollars. And so it was felt that local revenue would not be adequate to finance the volume of work necessary to have been undertaken. It was felt necessary, Mr. Speaker, to have even placed a desilting fee on the average St. Lucian. But how did that go? Never for once, Mr. Speaker, was it envisaged that the Malaways would be paying for persons to align their pockets unjustifiably and criminally, I dare say. And I will substantiate what I mean by criminally, Mr. Speaker, when I come to an audit report which sought to investigate the occurrences at Wasco in relation to the dam. But from 2012, the problem existed, the loan was approved, let's go desilt the dam. In 2023, Mr. Speaker, this government commissioned an audit to review exactly what transpired in relation to this huge expenditure, captioned or appropriately or misappropriately or inappropriately labeled desilting of the dam. Because you cannot desilt what still needs to be desilted. So, Mr. Speaker, there was what seemingly was a project to desilt the Roseau Dam between 2016 and 2021. That, Mr. Speaker, I will be referring to an audit report, but it's so humongous, it's so voluminous that to make it a document of the House, the Minister of Finance would have to approve, given the kind of expenditure it would take to print all those copies. Mr. Speaker, subject to the availability of funds. Mr. Speaker, between 2016 and 2021, a grave financial injustice was done to the people of this country that will remain stamped not only on our minds, but on the books of this country as basically being, Mr. Speaker, along with other projects during that same period, projects infested with corruption, malpractices, and essentially that's why, Mr. Speaker, in 2017, we were labeled, was labeled the worst year in our history in terms of having the most corruption. Mr. Speaker, in 2023, this government commissioned an audit to review what had transpired at the Roseau Dam. And I will go through the audit, a couple pages of that audit, Mr. Speaker, and I'm hoping that some St. Lucians will not be surprised at what transpired as the desilting of the Roseau Dam. On page 4 of the audit report, Mr. Speaker, I read, the findings confirmed ground non-conformities related to the use of the dredging fee account, which was held by WASCO, as per conditions set by the regulator, including misuse of the funds and gross mismanagement of the project. As of October 2022, the amount from those funds exceeded the cap limit of $60 million. So, Mr. Speaker, I want to say this. The dam, the contractual sum was not 60 million, I'll get to that. But they capped it at 60 million and say, well, even if the contractual sum is less than 60 million, with contingencies do not surpass 60 million. They went to $69 million, Mr. Speaker. So notwithstanding the NERC, the National Utilities and Regulations Commission had capped the project at $60 million. The project cost ended at $69 million, Mr. Speaker. Now, the project cost itself was some 52.5 million. So they exceeded the project cost by 16.5 million. Moi vle di sa pa toi. Le yo te ka bay disil dam la. Ne classe organisation qui wes ko stab pour garder politicien pas ka hausse pour électricité, moi vle di zot ça. Politicien pas ka hausse pour de l'eau. L'année on regulation commission qui a dit que ça Wasco besoin haussement et nous pour aussi. Et bien aussi les besoin haussement nous ne pour aussi. C'est pas politicien qui a fait. Bon, the NERC said that they are capping that project at $60 million. But the project was for 52.5, which means there was leeway of $7.5 million for contingencies on foreseen eventualities. But not only did they use the 52.5, they surpassed the limit of the 60 million and ended up at $69 million. That is at page 4 of the audit report, Mr. Speaker. So they exceeded the original amount of 52.5 by $16.5 million. So, après tout l'argent Yo exceedly par $16.5 million. And hear this, Mr. Speaker. Hear this. This was due to wastage and payment of unqualified claims submitted by the contractors. The auditors are saying we got to that sordid financial point because payments are being made to the contractors which were unqualified. I didn't say it, Mr. Speaker. But let me tell you what is worst. Let me tell you what is worse. Mr. Speaker, the contractual amount of silt that had to be removed was in excess of 1.5 million tons, cubic yards, sorry. They only removed 84,000. They only removed 84,000. So, Mr. Speaker, for our $69 million, they only did 8.7% of the work. Exactly. Now, I would come to that. I would say, at that rate, if they had to desilt $69 million is 8.9, let's say 10%, they would need $69 million 10 times to finish the dam. That is what it is. $69 million, 10%. 100% of the dam, they need $69 million 10 times. Jesus. Jesus. Mr. Speaker, had the guy stayed in government crap or smoke our pipe? Jesus. You know, that's the reality. I didn't say it. I did not say it. Pour 10%, pour tout, yon pas tout là, et qui ont tiré 10%. On 100% ni 10% 10 fois. So si on peut tirer tout silt là, dame là, yon te brisé $69 million 10 fois. They would have needed $690 million at the rate they were going. Jesus. Jesus. And you're telling me, Mr. Speaker, those guys have the audacity to talk about corruption and people don't know what they're doing. But let's move on, Mr. Speaker. Hear what the auditors say. Further, there was evidence to suggest possible acts of illegality, such as forgery of project documents. Zotan mama iset lisi, yoka digis kwim ki pasan bayza. That persons engage in illegality and they forge project documents. Now, Papa, Mama, hear this one. The above, the fraud and the forgery was facilitated by weak controls within governance, management, and administration of WASCO, which appeared to enable interference in the operations by organizations of ministers of government. Mr. Speaker, read it again. Slowly. Ignite patwa too. Yodi, and that's page 5, Mr. Speaker. The auditor said that corruption, the wastage, everything happened was facilitated by weak control within the governance, the management, and administration of WASCO, which appeared to enable interference in the operations of the organization by the ministers of government. Who are the ministers of everything? This is a serious indictment on the reputation of all ministers in the last government. And I'm calling on the last Minister of Economic Development to answer his name. Jesus. You see why we are where we are? You all see why we are where we are. $69 million, exceeding the contractual sum by $16.5 million. But even if you exceed it by so much, you remove less than 10% of the silt. Mr. Speaker, those kinds of injustices, Mr. Speaker, those kinds of injustices. Let me read an excerpt of page 14 for you, Mr. Speaker. Page 14. Mr. Speaker, there is a lot. And by the way, where is the special prosecutor? Hear this. Based on the findings, it can be concluded that the procurement process for the project did not conform to the procurement guidelines associated with the issued building documents. And Mr. Speaker, listen to that. That's correct. The conclusion is based on the following. In the middle of the procurement process, the government of St. Lucia then influenced major changes in the project planning process to ensure that certain local contractors were included. Ezotansa, padata tout bagay jafet, se mouna kite gouvernement ale sala, yo distwe whole bagay la, pour ensure pa ada local, yon local contractor fouye tep li adiday. This, hear this. The government gave Wasco's board instructions to cancel the negotiations that had already begun with a company out of the initial stages. Cancel the negotiations, just like they cancel the Northern Quadrant roads, just like they canceled the lights project, just like they canceled the airport. That's all they did, because they were busy looking for cash cows. Hear this, Mr. Speaker. The board overruled the recommendation of duly appointed bid evaluation committee, which resulted, hear this, and I must preface that to say that the contractor that performed 10% of the work for over the sum was Mega Construction. Mega Contracting Inc. Hear this, Mr. Speaker, paragraph 2, page 14. The board overruled the recommendation of the duly appointed bid evaluation committee, which failed Mega Construction even in its pre-qualification stages. So when they were doing the pre-qualification, the one that ended up with the contract, he failed in pre-qualification. The board was further instructed by the government to accept and consider a bid from that same Mega Contracting. The Mega Contracting that executed the project failed at the pre-qualification stage. The board was asked to dismantle everything and to consider a bid from him, although he failed at the pre-qualification stage and he ended up with the contract. Hear this. Hear this. The final letter of acceptance to Mega Contracting was issued after the expiration of the bid validity period. Waiting. Can you believe this? After the bid validity period, and oh my, the contract, according to the final letter of acceptance dated January 28, 2019, was in excess of and does not reconcile with the bid amount received from him. So he sent in a bid with an amount. but the letter of acceptance has a different amount. It's on page 14 of the audit report, Mr. Speaker. Now, you know, Mr. Speaker, how on earth can you have a letter of acceptance that comes after a contract is signed? The protocol is you send in your bid or your offer, I accept your offer, and then there is a contract. But the contract was signed, and long after comes the letter of acceptance. You know, and that is the kind of thing that happened, Mr. Speaker. Heavy's bid modifications from Mega Contracting Inc. were accepted after they submitted their bid, which is after the deadline and after the validity period. Well. The contingency amount was not included and had been negotiated after the submission. This is considered an unfair practice to other bidders. The final letter of acceptance had been issued on January 28, 2019, almost 10 months after the signing of the contract. Mr. Speaker, all of those tell you exactly why we're here. We are here because the resources of this country had not been adequately spent or effectively spent to bring reprieve to our people insofar as the supply of water is concerned. They talk about health, Mr. Speaker. They took St. Jude. They dismantled everything. It was another cash cow. Water is life. They saw the desilting as a cash cow. The airport was ready to go. They saw it as another cash cow. Mr. Speaker, there is something here that reminds me of the member second to my left. And I'll read it, Mr. Speaker, when he was Prime Minister. Bid opening and evaluation. During the bid evaluation process, the committee accepted an alternative bid that had a material deviation in the initial scope of work and equipment to be used. The board did not evaluate nor consider whether this rebidding should have been performed. And that reminds me, Mr. Speaker, of the time when there were several bids to have reconstructed the Uranora International Airport. And when certain men, when a certain company did not win the bid, the minister asked that the whole process be rejected. You remember that, Mr. then Prime Minister? The whole process be rejected. And when it was redone, A&M won the bid. And that's the same thing that happened there. Mega Contracting Inc., whatever the names are, or name is, Mega Contracting Inc. failed in the initial process. Government instructed to reopen and accept his bid. He became the winner of the whole of the contract. Mr. Speaker, you see, let me just give you some amounts here. One of the things they said happened was wastage, uncertified payments, and a lot. But let me just give you some amounts here, Mr. Speaker, so you'll understand. The auditors found that the total wastage on the project at the time of the investigation amounted to $12.3 million. That is wastage. That is wastage. That is not payment of uncertified claims. 12.3 million. 540,000 US consultancy services, additional money. Mega Contracting Inc. additional construction cost of $2 million US. $2 million US. Additional claims of $952,000 US and committee fee of $393. Additionally, a soil dryer for $236,000 US, which was not in the initial project plan and further could not be used on the project due to technical reasons. You know, that reminds me again of the incinerators. The incinerators in view. Mr. Speaker, Jesus. I mean, those guys were bleeding this country. How much the incinerators cost, mister? How much? 10 million incinerators that never worked. Dryer that never worked. You know? Hear this. This one is nice. Apart from the $2 million additional construction costs paid to Mega Contracting Inc., hear this, they submitted a claim of $1.2 million US based on adverse weather conditions. A claim, Mr. Speaker, of $1.2 million US, over $3 million for something that occurred that is that's what you call in law force majeure. Is no fault of either party, but the government is compensating him over $3 million for bad weather. You pay a mega for bad weather, a whole $2 million. You know, I mean, this is, you know, and the auditors are saying that basically if there was effective project management, that would have never ever happened. Mr. Speaker, I could go on and on, but I wanted to give St. Lucians a synopsis, Mr. Speaker, of why we are here. Why we are here. And Mr. Speaker, the government operates with such frugality that it's over 2 years since we came here to borrow money. We have not borrowed money in a while. 2024. So it is not a situation where we come to borrow money for any frivolous venture or to take taxpayers' money and to give cabot or to say we are securing a loan for KM2 or to ask Theo King to open an account overseas in Panama or wherever he wanted. This is meant to improve the standard of living of St. Lucians and to add to our tourism product on which this economy so heavily depends. That is what it's for, Mr. Speaker. And then you have the guys talking about $600 million. Mr. Speaker, I want to fully support the three motions. I will save quite a bit for the budget debate, but it is sad, Mr. Speaker, that the perpetrators of those crimes, because if an auditor can refer to a transaction as being fraudulent, Mr. Speaker, it enters the realm of criminality. And if it enters the realm of criminality, those perpetrators are criminals and should be brought to justice, because you cannot be taking taxpayers' money, Mr. Speaker, and blowing it like that. This is unfair. This is unfair, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I need to fed about Sibaisa. Something has to be done, Mr. Speaker. And now, that same dam, I now understood why I went to Forestier, and the person who was representing there, somebody told me, he said, damn the dam, because yo man, they put his hands up our head, Idi dam the dam, meaning whatever we wanted to do with the dam, we have done with the dam, and leave the dam alone because the dam has given us the returns that we were looking for from it. So dam the dam. Mr. Speaker, honestly, the kind of egregious deeds that this country underwent at the hands of the last administration, it was God, Mr. Speaker, who intervened on July 26, 2021. And it shall continue, Mr. Speaker, with the governance of this administration with longevity and into perpetuity, because we cannot permit those vultures to place their hands on the resources of this country again. Mr. Speaker, I fully support, wholeheartedly support. There is absolutely not even an iota of doubt. There is not an iota of skepticism as to how or why I should have any kind of reservation about supporting motions that bring a better quality of life to our people, and as I said earlier, improve our tourism product on which we so heavily depend. I support the motions.
Thank you, Mr.
Minister, the member for ancillary, are you yielding to him? Member for ancillary categories?
PM.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I will begin my contribution by congratulating you, Mr. Speaker, as my colleagues before, on your more recent award. Many in this Honorable House may not be aware that the relationship between the Speaker and I go a very, very, very way back, long before politics. Long before politics. And I'm hoping to get an award. Long before politics, and he occasionally spends time in my constituency, Mr. Speaker. But whilst I am on it, Mr. Speaker, I would like to also extend, I suppose, wish the women of St. Lucia and of my constituency Happy International Women's Day. But Mr. Speaker, whilst we're celebrating, I want to congratulate the principal, the teachers, the parents, and the students, Mr. Speaker, of the Ancillary Primary School, Mr. Speaker, for winning the district track meet, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, 3 in a row. Mr. Speaker, I appreciate the significance of 3 in a row, Mr. Speaker, as I am looking forward, Mr. Speaker, to also getting my 3 in a row, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, you heard earlier that water is indeed life. But a modern economy, Mr. Speaker, water is also infrastructure. It is development, it is resilience, and it is also, most importantly, national security, Mr. Speaker. Today I rise not only as the Minister for Economic Development and Youth Economy, but also as the parliamentary representative for the constituency that hosts one of the most critical water assets in our country, the John Compton Dam. And you've heard all the contributions from the colleagues, but the fundamental point, Mr. Speaker, the most critical aspect is, in fact, the John Compton Dam. It is not merely a structure of concrete and steel. It is the heart, Mr. Speaker, of our national water supply system. From the hills and valleys of Millet, water flows outwards to homes, businesses, farms, and tourism establishments across much of St. Lucia. It sustains daily life, economic activity, and public health. The farmers who irrigate their crops depend on it. The hotels that welcome visitors depend on it. The households who turn on their taps each morning, Mr. Speaker, depend on it. Yet too often, Mr. Speaker, we speak of water only when there is a shortage. We must speak about water, Mr. Speaker, as a pillar of our national development. No serious development strategy, Mr. Speaker, can ignore our water infrastructure. If we wish to grow tourism, we must secure water. If we wish to expand agriculture, we must secure water. If we wish to support manufacturing and agro-processing, we must secure water. Without a reliable water infrastructure, investment slows, productivity declines, and public health risks increase. Now, Mr. Speaker, we have a very dedicated Minister of Health, and I would not want any additional burden on him insofar as the worrying that he does. Because at the moment, Mr. Speaker, he worries 24/7. I would hate water to also be an area of concern for him, Mr. Speaker. Water infrastructure, Mr. Speaker, therefore sits at the center of our national development architecture. It is as important as roads. It is as important as sports. It is as important, Mr. Speaker, as our digital infrastructure. St. Lucia is a small island developing state facing the full force, Mr. Speaker, of climate variability. We're experiencing longer dry seasons, intense rainfall events, landslides, and watershed degradation. And you have heard the Minister of Agriculture speak the importance of our watersheds, Mr. Speaker. These realities place enormous pressure on our water systems. Dams must be maintained, Mr. Speaker. Our watersheds must be protected. Pipelines must be modernized. Storage capacity must be strengthened. If we fail to invest in water infrastructure today, Mr. Speaker, we will pay a much higher price tomorrow. And this is the only reason why we're here, Mr. Speaker, because we recognize the importance of our water infrastructure. The dam in Millet, Mr. Speaker, also reminds us that water infrastructure is inseparable from environmental stewardship. Healthy forests protect our rivers. Protected watersheds sustains our reservoirs. Sustainable land management preserves water quality. Development and environmental protection must therefore go hand in hand. A damaged watershed ultimately becomes a damaged economy. Mr. Speaker, I am proud that such a vital national asset sits within my constituency. But with that pride, Mr. Speaker, comes responsibility. The communities that surround the dam, Mr. Speaker, Millet, Verna, Jacmel, and the surrounding areas, are not just neighbors to this infrastructure. They are the guardians of a national resource. Their stewardship of land directly affects the quality and sustainability of our water supply. And so development in these communities must also include watershed programs, sustainable agriculture practices, community engagement in conservation, economic opportunities that tie environmental protection to the benefits, Mr. Speaker. When we invest in these communities, we protect the water that sustains the entire nation. Mr. Speaker, water also intersects directly with the youth economy. Young entrepreneurs are entering such sectors as agro-processing, sustainable agriculture, aquaculture, ecotourism, and food production. None of these sectors, Mr. Speaker, can grow without a reliable water system. And if we want the young people to produce more, innovate more, and export more, we must guarantee the infrastructure that allows them to do so. Water is therefore not just about survival. It is also, Mr. Speaker, about opportunity. Our development agenda must include modernization of our national water infrastructure, protection of critical watersheds, climate-resilient water systems, improved storage and distribution networks, strategic partnerships for financing and technical support. Water security must be treated as a core element of our national development strategy. Mr. Speaker, a nation cannot secure its water, cannot secure its future. The dam in Millet stands as a powerful reminder that development begins with the fundamentals of life itself. Every glass of water poured in a home, every crop irrigated in a field, every guest welcomed in a hotel, somewhere in that chain is the quiet contribution of the reservoir in my constituency. And so today, Mr. Speaker, I stand in support of the resolutions before us. And I urge all members of the House to continue to treat our water infrastructure with the seriousness it deserves, because protecting our water is ultimately protecting our development. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Minister for Finance.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I thank members for the support, and I look forward to the project commencing, the patience continuing, and particularly the work on the pipeline from the John Compton Dam, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the work I spoke of between Bonte and Grosley is scheduled to start early next month, and there will be some inconvenience. I hope the people understand that there will be some inconvenience in that process. I thank members for their support, Mr. Speaker, and I respectfully ask that the resolutions be passed.
Honourable members, the question is that Parliament authorizes the Minister for Finance to borrow an amount of $22,829,181 United States dollars, the loan from the Caribbean Development Bank, the bank, to finance the John Compton Dam raw water pipeline replacement project, the 9th water project, and be it further resolved that A, the amount of the loan is from 1, the ordinary capital resources totaling $15,690,407 United States dollars, comprising of A, United States dollars $10,690,407 from the bank's equity and market resources, and B, United States dollars $5 million from the Agency Française de Développement. 2, the special fund reserve totaling $7,138,774 United States dollars, comprising of A, US $5 million from the Special Development Fund, and B, US $2,138,744 from the Italian line of credit. B, the loan is repayable, 1, in the case of the ordinary capital resources and the Italian line of credit in 17 years, and 2, in the case of the Special Development Fund in 30 years. C, the repayment must be in the following tranches. 1, in the case of the ordinary capital resources and the Agence Française de Développement in 68 equal or approximately equal and consecutive quarterly installments on each due date, commencing on the first due date after the expiry of 5 years following the date of this loan agreement, or on such later due date as the bank specifies in writing. 2, in the case of the Special Development Fund, in 120 equal or approximately equal and consecutive quarterly installments on each due date, commencing on the first due date after the expiry of 5 years following the date of this loan agreement, or on such later due date as the bank specifies in writing. 3, in the case of the special fund resources, in 68 equal or approximately equal and consecutive quarterly installments on each due date, commencing on the first due date after the expiry of 9 years following the date of this loan agreement, or on such later due date as the bank specifies in writing. And D, A commitment fee is payable on the ordinary capital resources portion at a rate of 1% per annum and is payable quarterly from the 60th day after the loan agreement. E. Interest is payable quarterly at a variable rate of 5.6% per annum on the amount of the ordinary capital resource portion. And 2. The fixed rate of 0.75% per annum on the Special Development Fund tranche. And 3. The fixed rate of 1.4% per annum on the Italian line of credit. I now put the question. As many as of that opinion say aye. Aye. As many as of a contrary opinion say no. I think the ayes have it. The ayes have it. On the second motion, honorable members, the question is that Parliament authorizes the Minister for Finance to borrow an amount of United States dollars $4,233,750, the loan from the CARICOM Development Fund to finance the rehabilitation and upgrade of the Sybil's water system. And that be it further resolved that A, the loan is repayable in 10 years, commencing from the end of the 2 years grace period, and B, the loan is repayable in 40 equal or approximately equal quarterly installments on the 30th day of March, the 30th day of June, the 30th day of September, and the 30th day of December. And interest is payable at a fixed rate of 3% per annum. I now put the question. As many as of that opinion say aye. As many as of a different opinion say no. I think the ayes have it. The ayes have it. And on the third motion, the question is that Parliament authorizes the Minister for Finance to amend the loan agreement to borrow from the CARICOM Development Fund, the fund, an additional amount not exceeding the sum of US dollars $781,493 for the purpose of providing financing to meet the additional costs of the Passias Community Water Supply Project. Be it further resolved that A, the original loan and the additional loan are repayable in 10 years commencing from the first due date. B, the original loan and additional loan are repayable in 40 equal or approximately equal and consecutive quarterly installments. C, the loan repayments commence on the 30th day of March, the 30th day of June, the 30th day of September, and the 30th day of December of each year after a grace period of 2 years following the date of the first disbursement or such later date as the fund specifies in writing. And D, the interest is payable at a rate of 3% per annum on the amount of the original loan and additional loan disbursed and outstanding. I now put the question. As many as of that opinion say aye. Aye. As many as of a contrary opinion say no. I think the ayes have it. The ayes have it. Leader of Government Business.
Mr. Speaker, I beg that this House stands suspended until 3:45 p.m.
Honourable members, the question is that this House do stand suspended until 3:45 p.m. I now put the question. As many as of that opinion say aye. Aye. As many as of a contrary opinion say no. I think the ayes have it. The ayes have it. Sitting suspended.
session qui constitue ça c'est session matin, malgré il commence bien tard bon matin, ça c'est presque après-midi, c'est-à-dire après un quart pour midi commencer, les sessions finies, première session, il finit là avec 3 motions à sous ASCO, ça c'est côté gouvernement qui a essayé aider la situation ASCO et puis l'argent, l'argent premier c'est 22,8 millions de dollars pour Banque Développement Caraïbe pour assister avec développer la situation en Dame John Compton pour replacer un beau tuyau. Il y a un projet c'est pour replacer tuyau 24 pouces pour 32 pouces. Ça c'est un trop plus gros tuyau. En l'autre c'est en motion pour prêter 4,10 millions de dollars américains. Ça c'est pour CARICOM, ça c'est développement, le fonds de développement CARICOM pour réhabilitation, ça nous a appelé Tibbles, plan Tibbles, ça c'est un CC1, côté on a traité de l'eau au ASCO. Avec troisième là, c'est pour prêter presque 1 million de dollars à CARICOM, le fonds de développement CARICOM encore pour aider avec traitement de l'eau, ça c'est en commune par science. Il y a plusieurs différents membres parlement qui parlent, particulièrement nous étions pour la première fois, ça c'est membre parlement pour Soisey, Saltibis, honorable Kifson Charles, qui ni responsabilité pour Wasco, utilité Wasco, etc. Il parlait pour la première fois, il parlait à cette situation là avec et aussi après c'était membre parlement pour patience, ça c'est comme une patience, notre Miku nous a dit, puis il parlait avec l'autre membre parlement pour parler à ce en position. Nous ça dit Claudia, la partie de pièce débat pour dire puisque l'autre membre opposition quand il constitue parti ici, ça c'est honorable Alain Chasté, pas présent aujourd'hui. So, là pour continuer au cas toujours dit, la partie de Halikase, la partie de pièce qualité débat, mais tous ces gens qui parlent aujourd'hui a parlé en support de ces motions.
Yes, Michael, indeed, and I think a lot of ground was covered considering that we had a late start, almost at 12 o'clock, and the first few motions dealt with the water sector and the government seeking finance to resolve or address many of the issues confronting WASCO. And in that light, the Minister for Utilities, as you indicated, Public Utilities, the Honorable Kifson Charles, also backed the Prime Minister's presentation as well as the motion. In terms of water harvesting, again, the Prime Minister emphasized that St. Lucians should double down on that practice. It's an effort in which we stand a chance of having a backup whenever the water supply is not available.
Which also was emphasized by Minister Kifson Charles.
As well, yes. He certainly supported, I would say, all the key components raised by the Prime Minister on this issue. We also saw Minister Ernest Hilled, Deputy Prime Minister, make a statement on the CIP where he indicated that the decision of the UK to implement a visa regime here on St. Lucia is not a driver or is not responsible for the decision of the UK. And he went into some detail to clarify what he feels is a false narrative which has been circulating, implicating the CIP as the key reason why the UK decided to implement that regime on St. Lucia. Currently, Michael, there is an ongoing transition period, if you will, and this is in effect right now until the 16th of April. So come the 17th of April 2026, the new visa regime will be fully at play. And this is one of the major changes that is confronting St. Lucia at this time. And Michael, also coming up after the lunch break, the House resumes at 3:45. We are going to see various requests for motions to request funding to address programs concerning education, reconstruction of berth number 4. We're also going to hear a motion tabled as regards 94.87 million US dollars loan from the Export-Import Bank of the Republic of China for national development projects and COVID-19 mitigation measures. And that ties in, Michael, with the presentation by the Honorable Richard Frederick, where he emphasized that the funds that are being borrowed and are not being borrowed by the government in a frivolous or trivial manner, but to ensure that it contributes to the enhancement of the lives of St. Lucians and to the strengthening of the tourism industry and other sectors in particular.
Oui, Claudia, avec compte dit anglais italien qui ministère pour touristes, c'est honorable. On a essayé de parler bien fort, bien sérieux à cette situation CIP avec manière l'Angleterre. Le gouvernement de l'Angleterre jamais été en régime, ça y a créé les visa pour mon entrer l'Amérique et puis en visa. C'est pas l'Amérique, excusez, l'Angleterre. Et puis en visa avec parler bien sérieux contre monde qui dit qui a fait méchanceté avec ça y a dit de voilà pas vraie pièce. Quand même il conseille Jean Simplici comprendre le médecin toujours qu'a dit pour les entrer dans un pays pour conduire en bonne manière. Ça qui a monté là à présent après déjeuner, d'ailleurs sur la vie est commencé, car l'année 4 l'autre motion, c'est pour ranger chimie, ça c'est grand chimie Julian R. Hunt, qui a monté Gozile, aussi la CAINI en motion pour aussi la CAINI d'émotion pour ça nous a créé pour situation qui est Covid, pour des gens qui déplacés avec situation bagaille comme ça, de Covid là, avec aussi un programme indication, un projet indication. Là aussi, nous avons discuté aujourd'hui, nous avons dévié, ça nous a dit bills, et bien, avec l'autre motion à ce port Castri, avec l'autre bagaille corporation, ça nous a dit finance, corporation finance. Là aussi, l'autre bagaille, nous avons discuté à ce bills, mais nous avons plus de détails sur ça, là, nous avons dévié. Alors, nous avons resté pour nous, pour 3 heures, pour 4 heures, là, nous avons vu ici pour continuer la session en cahier constitutionnel.